on Sunday afternoon, 1:30 p.m. Omega Ministries broadcasting live on live stream. Welcome to all the guests on live stream also. Hope you're having a good day. First of all, I want to make an announcement by way of talking about the conference in August. If you are a room leader that has signed up on the form for the room leaders for the conference, Naomi emailed you a link to another form that you need to fill out to establish how many people will be in the rooms and to get a list of the people in the rooms so we can have it all put together in one format. So she emailed a link to the room leaders. Make sure you take that form. It's an online form. Fill it out. And what do they do? Email it back to you?
No, automatically send it.
Okay. It'll automatically send back. So if you fill it out online and send it back online, it'll automatically return back to her with everybody in your room on that form, and it's for the room leaders. So you know who you are. So anticipate that email. She already sent it out. Pull it up and then send it back to her so she can compile the room list and the people in it. All right. Also, remember the conference, August 22nd through the 24th down in Destin, Florida. Right now, I think we got about 80 people registered. So if you're not registered, it's time to get in. Just go to the link at www.omegaministry.org and register for the conference. It'll be held August 22nd through the 24th in Destin, Florida. And all the information pertaining to the conference will be located on our website under that conference link. So come on down to Destin, August 22nd through 24th. That's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll be starting up Friday evening with the get acquainted reception and the meet and greet, which will then transition over to time of ministry as we deal with deliverance and demons. If you got a demonic problem, we'll be dealing with demons. Saturday morning will be ministry and praise and worship, and followed by a cookout around the pool, and the beach will be available. The pool actually sits right on the beach, so you can go from the beach to the beach to the pool, from the pool to the beach, and eating in between. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then, of course, Sunday morning service and Sunday afternoon dismissal. So come on down to Destin, Florida, August 22nd through 24th for the Fire on the Beach conference. Should be a good ministry and a good time had by everybody. And it's time for fellowship and to get acquainted with people that you Facebook message all the time and you see posted on the internet and you hear on the prayer line, and you'll put a face with the person that you're talking to all the time. And you'll see that you make a lot of friends and you get to know a lot of people through these conferences. July 18th is the last day to register, so make sure you register, because July the 22nd, we'll be giving everything over to the hotel as far as making plans for accommodations and food and all that type of thing. But July 18th should be your target date for registration and getting it done. So zero in on it. What's today's date? The 13th. So the 18th is 5 days away. If you go past the 18th, email me at gcprice@att.net and let me know if you got some kind of extraneous emergency or something that you couldn't get registered, and I'll try to deal with it. But the 18th of July is the target date for registration. And email me at gcprice@att.net if you got any concerns around that target date. All right, let's pray and we'll get going for today. Father, we thank you for this time of sharing. Thank you for the word of God that's able to save our souls. Right now, God, we commend this time to you, God, asking you to actually manifest yourself, your wisdom, your mind, your knowledge, the way you think, the way you perceive reality. What's on your mind right now is the only thing that matters. I mean, let us decrease totally that you might increase, because in an environment like we live in, only the mind of God and only the will of God matters. So, God, we're moving out of the way to get access to the way you want things to be, what your will is for every individual life, and just to open our minds up to the revelation of the Word of God that leads to a relationship with the living God. So revelation leads to relationship, and that's what we're after. Not performance, not trying to belong, not trying to fit in, not trying to do legalistic works, but just knowing the will of God, letting you take over the environment contained in our own innermost beings, that you can live and reign and rule in the hearts of men, and that you become Lord of all. The Bible plainly tells us that the kingdom of heaven does not come with observation, for the kingdom is within us. So God, that tells me that a conquest of inner space must take place. It's an inward journey. It's not on the exterior. It's an interior journey on the inside of me, cleaning out debris to allow you to manifest your will in your life more and more on a daily basis. God, give mankind this revelation so we'll stop trying to just get caught up in everything on the outside, understanding that the relationship with God is on the inside. And if the inside is purged and cleansed, you'll come and make your abode in us, and we'll walk in the Spirit, not fulfilling the lust of our flesh. It's so easy, and it's being made so hard by the carnal mind. Remove that barrier of the carnal mind from all of us, that we can see and enter into the kingdom of God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, today we're talking about, in alignment with the prayer I just prayed, a vertical victory. A vertical victory. You know, most wars are fought on the horizontal, nation against nation, people group against people group. And that's not the war that the Christian fights. The Christian is fighting on the vertical. The Christian is fighting to achieve the ascended life, to get your life lived from above, not on the earth. So you understand that everything that's contending with you is on the vertical. It's not on. It looks like it's horizontal, like it's next to you, but that's not the warfare. I mean, the devil will send you all kinds of horizontal debris and all kinds of horizontal distractions to make you believe that this person, this arena, this environment, or this circumstance is the enemy. That is a smoke screen. The enemy is vertical. The warfare is vertical. You're warring your way into a heavenly existence, and heaven is above. So therefore, you're not warring to try to get from here to Nebraska, or try to get from here to Germany, or trying to get from here to Israel. I mean, when you get to Israel, you're going to find the same devils you left here in Atlanta. So it can't be a horizontal warfare to take territory on the horizontal. The characteristics and the prototypes in the Old Testament, bringing the Israelites from Egypt to the Promised Land, that was a horizontal war that the physical people of God fought physical tribes to get into a promised land, which was a location that was geographical in the Middle East. So that's the war they fought. The law of Moses under the Old Testament, a real war in real time with physical enemies. And a lot of times you saw God annihilate whole tribes so the Israelites could progress into the promised land. So first the physical, then the spiritual. The Bible says that the first Adam was a living soul. The second Adam is a life-giving spirit, referring to Jesus Christ. The physical always comes first, and then it's displaced by the spiritual. So the truth of the Old Testament that shows us a physical warfare on the horizontal is now being displaced by a spiritual warfare that is on the vertical plane. So if you look around, God is trying to always tell us we don't wrestle with flesh and blood. Then he goes to 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and he tells us the weapons of your warfare are not carnal. We're not striving with physical entities. These are disembodied spiritual beings, personalities or persons without bodies. So that'll get rid of everything on the horizontal, everything in the physical. That's not the problem. So the human mind keeps trying to find a way to make it a physical problem. It's not a physical problem. That's why you get all the debates and all the arguments and all the discussions. Most of that stuff is centrally focused on carnal minds dealing with stuff in the natural. And if you get away from that, you're 90% of the way home. But the carnal mind is hearing what I'm saying, is listening to it, but can't hear it. So you got to understand, I can talk all day about this. You have a carnal mind. You can keep intently listening to it, but you can't hear it because your mind is carnal. You are still plugged in to the physical world. So you just mentally assent to what I'm saying. You nod your head, yeah, and go right back to the vomit of the flesh. That's all you can do because your mind is carnal. So then that tells me, for me to get free as an individual, I've got to have my mind decarnalized. If that's a word now. I have to undergo the decarnalizing of my mind. My mind is carnal. What's the definition of a carnal mind? A carnal mind is a mind that receives all of its inputs from the 5 carnal senses. A carnal mind is plugged into your carnal senses. So what you see, hear, taste, touch, and smell, that is your reality. And you got to understand, the devil institutes and controls a virtual reality to influence your senses. So it's not real. You rarely talk to a person about the real problems of life. You're talking to a shell or a vignette of reality when you talk to a person. See, they can be saying one thing, but that's not the problem. They can be angry, bitter, rejected. These are all spiritual things. And all you see is them cursing, yelling, drinking. See, you see all the limbs and the leaves on the tree. But God only deals with what? The root. That's the root. The Bible says a root of bitterness can spring up and many be defiled. When Jesus died, the Bible says that the axe is now laid to the root of the tree. See, we deal with individuals reacting to them, interacting with them, and that's never real. All the stuff that people are saying, all the stuff they're doing, that's not the problem. It's a spiritual problem. So if you don't know that, you'll burn up 30 years of Christian life dealing with physical junk that amounted to absolutely nothing. You'll spend 30 years talking about things that God cares nothing about. You'll spend all of your life going back and forth about doctrine and dogma and belief systems and what one person says versus another one. And you'll become a very, very astute Christian philosopher. That's all you'll be. You'll be philosophizing all day about garbage that means nothing. So to win this thing, you have to engage in a vertical warfare against spiritual entities, and only you as an individual can get out of here. You're not responsible for everybody else on the Titanic. You've got to get out first. You've got to get to a lifeboat before you try to get anybody else off of the Titanic. So the first victory is to overcome for yourself. Now, what does the word overcome entail in your mind? If I say overcome, what's that telling you automatically? I'm under something. If I got to overcome something, I must be under something that's on top of me. That's just, by way of a simple definition. I'm under something that I've got to flip the switch on and get over it for me to be victorious. You find in Revelation, when he talks about the 7 churches, to every church at the end sequence of what Jesus said, he always said, to him that overcometh will I give, will I do, will I whatever he was going to award that person with. You go further on to the last of the last stages, when he talks to the church again in Revelation 21 and the end of those end chapters, he talks about the overcomers. These are they that have overcome and are now worthy to put on these white garments. So you see now, we're battling something that's on top of us. I had a person contact me the other day saying, well, Price, you mean to tell me the devil's not in hell? No, the devil's not in hell. It'd be good if the devil was in hell. That'd eliminate a lot of problems. But the devil is not in hell. You always see cartoon depictions and all these different characteristics and these character traits of the devil that display him being in hell. Like he's a hell-bound being, and he's down there trying to pull you into hell with him. The devil is not in hell. The devil is in the second heavenlies. He's in the surrounding elements around this planet. He ingrains and he indwells the air. He's the prince and the power of the air. The aere in the Greek. The aere is the oxygenated part of the planet, as opposed to the ethere, which is the upper rarefied air where there is no oxygen. So in the air, the devil dwells. He dwells where air is. Demons ride into the human body through air. The word for spirit is the word for what? Breath, a pneuma. They're air dwellers. They are pneumatic beings. A spirit is a breath. The Holy Spirit is a holy breath. So you see now, he is trying to set up parameters through your five carnal senses to open up gateways or conduits, what the devil would, and witchcraft workers would call portals, into the human body. He's got to come through air passages, but he got to get you to open up to him. So what does he use to open you up? The Bible calls it temptation. He's got to get you into his arena. He's got to get you into his particular mindset and his particular thought patterns and feelings and emotions and appetites and addictions in order to open up a gateway to get into you. Remember, everything about the devil is centrally focused on getting unclean spirits into you so the Holy Spirit can't manifest through you, because he knows the Holy Spirit won't traverse through anything that's unclean. If it's unclean, remember the Old Testament leper? They walked around all day having to say one word over and over again to let people know they were coming. Unclean. I am unclean. So the Holy Spirit will not come through any unclean arena because he, by nature, is holy. The Holy Spirit is clean. He's sanitized. He's sanctified from sinners. He is separate from the unclean. So the devil's thought patterns is, if this is a holy breath, I'll just engage or impart to you unclean breath. So you've got bad breath in you. Not talking about your breath per se. Not that you need Listerine or something like that. But you got unclean breath inside of you. Unclean spirits. Almost the entire church world is totally ignorant of what I'm saying right now. Now, I know it sounds amazing. I know it sounds like I'm trying to be some kind of a elite person that knows this. But the fact of the matter is, most religious church stuff has no idea what we're doing down here and what we're warring against. They go to church, they listen to singing, they hear sermons, they go home, and it was just like a Kiwanis Club meeting or a Busy Bee meeting or a sewing circle meeting or the meeting of the local whatever, the PTA or whatever. It had nothing to do with God. It was just a ritual, a formality that you went through that amounted to nothing. It kept you on the horizontal, and you checked off the religious block for the week. You do your laundry on Monday. You go to the spa on Tuesday. You get your car washed on Wednesday. You go down to volunteer at the local Red Cross on Thursday. On Friday, you go down to the country and you pick strawberries for the family. On Saturday, you get together and go out to dinner with the family. And Sunday, you go to church. Then Monday, you do your laundry. See, it has nothing to do with God. It's just a ritual. It's part of the weekly ritual that has no impact on the devil whatsoever. But if you begin to extract yourself from the world and begin to ascend and war against the entities above you to overcome them, then you become a problem to the devil. And the main sign that you have been born again above any other sign is the fact that all hell is going to break out in your life because you become a threat now. If you get above the devil, if you get power from God and power with God, you'll defeat the devil. Everywhere you go, he'll be under your feet and he'll have no power over you. So the devil's main plan is to make sure you never get a vertical victory. Let's take a look at it in Colossians. We're going to pick it apart in Colossians, then break down a few other scriptures to show you how to actually win. I mean, what if you really won? What if you really got in for real? That would change everything down here. If you get a few people that really do this, this thing will blow up like an atomic bomb. Remember, it just takes one more molecule of atomic matter to make that atomic bomb go off. You know, if you get nuclear fusion, whereby you get one molecule of atomic matter more than can be tolerated, it's going to blow up. So all you got to do is just keep adding molecules, adding to yourself until you get ignition. All you want is ignition. Ignition will do the job. So you got to understand that when you get that extra molecule and there's too much atomic matter there, it will split. And when you get that fission, it'll blow. So all atomic bomb is it just adds one more molecule that's needed to make that thing go off. And you see when atomic bomb goes off, man, you got whole cities that are totally decimated. So we're talking about a church that's sitting here with the potential to actually annihilate the devil. The potential to annihilate the devil is imparted to us by God via the Holy Spirit. And the devil, if you think he's cool, calm, and collected and walking around with no problems, you better think again. Because he's got a potential force here that will destroy him. So he has to spend all of his waking hours, day in and day out, coming up with circumstances to control this force. Think about what I'm saying. All day long, he's trying to control this force that it won't blow. Look, entertain them, snare them, trick them, slick them, whatever you got to do. Just don't let this thing blow. If you get them together, united together, and they have no concern for the horizontal, that's a dangerous environment. That thing might blow. You got all these folk full of the Holy Ghost on one accord, in one place, seeking God, and the Holy Ghost falls on them. The next thing you look at in Acts is an atomic explosion on the streets. Everything is going up in smoke. They're turning the world upside down. What happened? You had people who had forsaken the horizontal and they had gone vertical. That's the whole goal of the gospel. And the tragedy is almost every church you walk into doesn't even know. The preacher doesn't know, the pastor doesn't know, the deacons don't know, all these folks don't even know what the goal is. It's vertical victory. Let's look at Colossians real slowly. We'll go from Colossians chapter 1 through Colossians chapter 3. Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ by the will of God, and Timothy our brother, To the saints and faithful brethren in Christ which are at Colossae, grace be unto you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. So all those oneness Pentecostal people who are telling you they're the same person, I don't know why he had to address both of them separately. We give thanks to God and the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. They're the same person. How can he be the Father of the Lord Jesus Christ? Praying always for you, since we heard of your faith in Christ and of the love which you have to all the saints, for the hope which is laid up for you in heaven, whereof you heard before in the word of the truth of the gospel, which is come unto you as it is in all the world, and brings forth fruit. It brings forth fruit. That's very important. If you want to be involved in vertical escape, the fruit will get you out of here. As those 9 fruit take a hold of you, they will make your mind shift above, and you'll have no concern for the horizontal. As it does also in you, since the day you heard of it, and you knew the grace of God that is embedded in truth. No truth, no grace. You're not under grace when you believe in a lie. Look at it now. You knew the grace of God in truth. No truth, no grace, and you're outside of the framework of God. Grace is always embedded in truth. As you also learned of Epaphras, our dear fellow servant, who is for you a faithful minister, a faithful servant of Christ, who also declared unto us your love in the Spirit. For this cause we also, since the day we heard it, do not cease to pray for you, and to desire that you might be filled. When I listen to this now, we desire that you might be filled with the what? Knowledge of his will, in all wisdom and spiritual understanding. Now you see that threefold cord that cannot be broken. The Bible says a threefold cord cannot be broken. See, a twofold cord is intertwined with two cords wound together. But if you put a third cord in there, it's hard to break that cord. So he says, wind these 3 cords together, it won't break. So what's the threefold cord? Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Filled with the knowledge of his will in all wisdom and spiritual understanding. The knowledge of his will is contained in all wisdom and spiritual understanding. So now, the first thing you get from God is the knowledge. When you comprehend the knowledge, you get what? Understanding. After you get understanding, and you put the knowledge and the understanding to use in a practical way, you get wisdom. That's why people will listen to you, because you appear to be wise. You've got knowledge that you've understood and has made you wise. So now when somebody asks you a question, you don't say, let's see here. I really don't know. That's a good question. Because if you don't have knowledge or understanding, how can you possibly ask the question? It's impossible. You can't teach a class and you're less knowledgeable than the students. That doesn't make sense. Naomi, what's your specialty? History? So there should be some questions I can ask Naomi right now about history that she should be able to answer, just because of the data that's housed inside of her from teaching history all the time, that you and I probably wouldn't know. I'd probably have to look up the questions to ask her, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't know what I was talking about, but I could go and look them up in a dictionary or somewhere or encyclopedia, and then try to grill her, And that's why we always have prizes given away at the conference. Not just to put people on the spot and try to make them try to guess what we're talking about. That's why you study to show yourself approved. Anybody knows if you're teaching a certain class, you give a test. Reading the Bible, there are certain things that should embed in you that you just know. You just know this. You know who Abraham's wife was. You don't even have to try to think it up. You just know that. You know who David's daddy was. It's just embedded in. You see how it's just there. And if I say it, you can think, that's Jesse. Jesse. I remember that from the Bible. See, that's because you studied the Bible. Now I can say that to the marginal church person, and they would think I'm talking about, like David, Leroy's brother from around the corner. You know who David's dad is? I think his name was Tom. You be talking about David, Leroy's brother that lives around the corner? See, that's horizontal knowledge. Spiritual knowledge comes from spending time in the Bible, and you have spiritual understandings about spiritual circumstances and incidents in the Bible. So you want to get your mind bathed in knowledge from the Bible because God will begin to talk to you. He's reprogramming your mind to talk to you. God cannot enhance and he cannot revelate anyone that does not have the proper foundation. And the foundation has to be laid in what? Truth. Truth. There is no revelation coming from somebody that believes a lie. You say, well, I know a person that teaches Calvinism and they blessed me. No, they didn't. I had this discussion with somebody the other day. They said when I first got saved, I set up under some wrong teaching, but it helped me because where I was as a babe, I couldn't take, a lot of things yet, but the stuff they told me, and he was referring to Charles Capps and the power of the tongue, the word of faith. He said back then I needed that because my tongue was out of order, and the teaching on the word of faith and the power of the tongue helped me because I needed to get that part of me settled, and that doctrine helped me at that particular time. I told him it didn't help you. Because every time you get a false doctrine, there are spirits also yoked to the false doctrine. You just don't get the information. You also get the spirits that are embedded in the false doctrine along with it. I said, this is what really happens to a person when they're engaging with somebody that has a false doctrine or a misinterpretation of the scripture. The same thing that you would do for your newborn baby is what God will do for you. He knows that you're a baby and you don't know, so he protects you. God covered you while you were exposed to false doctrine so it didn't destroy you and contaminate you. It's the goodness of God that kept you. It wasn't the false doctrine that made you anything. It's the same thing you do for a newborn child. Everybody knows in every family that the baby is always protected by everybody else. The new baby, you could get a 3-year-old child knowing they got to look out for their newborn baby brother or sister. If they think you're doing something to them, they'll try to stop you, a little 3-year-old kid. Why are you doing that? Why you be washing their hair or something? They trying to, stop, leave him alone. Why are you messing with him? He crying. Start crying, they get upset. It's the way it is. I think one time Bree was crying as a little baby, a little newborn baby. And Barbara looked up and Gabriel standing in the doorway talking about, here's your baby. Got the baby standing like he holding a puppy or something. Hey, here's your baby. And they're crying here. What? And I think he was about what? 6. Trying to bring the baby out of the crib. And she was just, she should have been, what, a few months old or something? A few days old, okay. Now, you know, that's scary, a 6-year-old kid holding a baby a few days old. Here's your baby. I'm thinking, what? But everybody looks out for the baby, and that's what God does. Church, the standing church building on the corner, is built around the nurturing of the babies. All the mature people in the church have been preached out of the need for a lot of ministry. That's just a fact. That's why folks say, I'm in church, but I don't get you shouldn't be getting a lot out of you with your old self. You've been around 20 years, still looking for what? You should be doing the work of the ministry now. What are you doing? We got new fresh folk just coming in, just been born again last night, and here you are, sucking up all the air. Get out of the way with your old self. These babies got to grow up. You should be used to nurture these babies. You should be edifying them. They got all kinds of problems, and here you are trying to beat them down. Talk about them. Get out of the way and begin to let God use you to raise his children. He's looking for mature folk that will aid and abet him in raising the babies. That's what church is. Church is built around the nurturing of the young. Because the old rusty folk should be old enough now to fend for themselves. The natural world displays the spiritual world. You're not going to have some old rusty 45-year-old man on your lap breastfeeding him as his mother. If you are, it's something wrong with you, him, and everybody else around here. That's crazy. You reach a point whereby you don't need a lot of stuff. You got your own prayer life. I don't have to tell you me to go on a fast. I go on a fast or when I feel led to the Spirit. I got my own study time. I got my own time of ministry before the Lord. I got my own background with God. I know God. He knows me. I don't need a whole lot of stuff. I don't need a lot of folks trying to motivate me. I'm not walking around depressed and attacked by the devil because I know how to deal with the devil. I got a warfare stance that I have against the devil in my own personal life while I war against the devil for myself. See, you just matured. Now the newborn babe just coming in. They just got off the bus from the world. They don't know yet. So you can't inundate them with a bunch of stuff that they can't handle yet. The local church is right. Anybody fighting the local church does not understand the new birth and the need to raise young Christians. That's why I don't even talk about it to these boneheads that keep trying to tell you the Babylonian system. I came out of it. I haven't seen one person like that yet that hasn't gone off into some kind of false arena and false doctrine. Because pride is anchoring them. They go off into talking about the law, or they begin to worship on the Sabbath days. They got all this head doctrine they espouse, never knowing what they're talking about, because they don't have the anchor of the local church, the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, pastors, and teachers to train the people to do the work of the ministry. They bypassed a process. I talked about a process, I think it was Wednesday night. You can't bypass the process. You've got to go through the process. He says, no man is awarded, you're not crowned, unless you do what? You got to play by the rules. You got to strive lawfully, it says in Timothy. You've got to play by the rules. Folks try to bypass processes. You don't believe it? You get up one morning at 5 years old and try to walk into a college level chemistry class and see what they tell you. You end up talking about, let's see, 1 + 1 is 2. Or you come in there with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, and T, U, V, W, and X, Y, Z. Now I know my ABCs. Tell me what you think of me. And you at a college level, senior class, chemistry class, and you as a 5-year-old, You're saying things that are just germane to a 5-year-old in the kindergarten. That's what you got with folks trying to tell you stuff in church that have not gone through the processes of growth. So what they're saying, they think it's dynamic, they think it's real astute, they think it's deep, they think it's something that's revelatory, and everybody's thinking, go over there and sit down. Stop. It happens all the time. All because you haven't gone through the process. God is a building block God. He builds you up layer upon layer. The Bible says precept upon precept. He gives it to you how? Here a little, there a little. That's how he builds you up. It's like you build a house from the foundation up. You got it. Omar can't wire a house and you just laid the slab. He said, Omar, okay, we got the slab laid. Go wire that house. Hey, man, I think you better frame it first. Because he can't wire a house that hadn't been framed up. See, everything has to be done precept upon precept. We don't have enough what? Patience. Patience. Let patience have her what? Perfect work. You'll be complete, whole, and lacking nothing. But you know just like I know what happens normally. I get saved today. I get a few scriptures tomorrow. Now I got it, and I'm trying to tell everybody. You need to. Everybody's name becomes you need to. You know, like a little girl from the hood in the black community. You know, Shamika, Latika, you need to. So everybody's name becomes you need to. Look, man, stop. Just relax. You know, the most astute advice somebody can give you is a one word of advice is relax. Relax. Just relax. We'll go to a conference down here in Destin, Florida. Sandy beaches everywhere, volleyball in the pool and on the beach, golf course out here for you to play golf, bowling alley down the street. And you're standing there, everybody's playing beach volleyball, and somebody comes in talking about, why don't we pray? Listen. Right now, we're playing beach volleyball. We're down by 5 points. Get out of the way. I'm getting ready to smash this ball over this net. You'll be here praying and you'll get hit in the head right now because you're bowling. Somebody stands in the middle of the alley. Saints, let's join hands and pray here at the alley. This bowling ball is coming out of my hand. It's traveling at least 50 miles per hour as I release it. Your head is in the way. You see? I mean, stop. Relax. Do you not know that around us is chaos? But inside of you should be what? I can enjoy life. They can't enjoy life. But I can. Because he's put me in perfect peace. Why? Because my mind is stayed on him. I can stop and smell the roses, but they can't. They got to have a fifth of liquor, a joint, cigarettes, some porno. I could just stand here and enjoy the sunset. Isn't the sunset beautiful? It look all right. Do you have a fifth of liquor on you, though? Look, just enjoy the sunset. You got any cigarettes? Look, you got a light? Look, just enjoy. Can you just sit here on this beach chair and just take in the moment and enjoy the sunset? See how the world can't do it? They always have to go somewhere. We need to go somewhere. Where? There's a party, the club. I want to go over here to the barbecue. We need to. See, you need to sister. You need to have a sister named We Need To. So they come into church always talking about what we need to do. Why is it we need to? Why don't you go do it? Why are you telling me? Price what we need to. No, my name is not we need to. If you got something the Lord told you to do, go do it. It's simple. Life is very simple once your mind has been delivered from the horizontal Babylonian chaos that really exists. Look at this. So you're filled with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Why, Paul? That you might walk worthy of the Lord, unto all pleasing, being fruitful in every good work, and increasing in the knowledge of God, the gnosis of God. You got to know God to walk with God. Strengthened with all might according to his glorious power unto all patience and long suffering with joyfulness. Now learn to read the Bible, breaking down the Bible. Strengthened with what? All might. That word for all might, you know what it is? Dunamis. Dunamis. That's why we call the tabernacle dunamis. This is a power walk. It's all about power. Being strengthened with all might according to his glorious power. His glorious power. That's not dunamis. That's a higher level. His glorious power, glorified power, eternal power. Unto all what? Patience and long suffering with joyfulness. This is the sign that rests on a Christian. Their patience and their long suffering. They put up with a lot. They just tolerate. They look at somebody at a certain state and they don't get into a frenzy because they know however that person is today, they won't be that way tomorrow. They're growing in grace. So, you're not jumping all around and flipping around and reacting to everything because people change. So what has to happen to me? If I become just normalized and flatlined inside, I don't care what you do anyway. I'm free. You know what I heard? I don't care what you heard. What difference does it make to me? Well, down in the church basement, there's some folks. I'm not in the basement. I'm upstairs in the lobby eating a bologna sandwich. It has nothing to do with me. You know what I heard about brother? I don't care about brother so-and-so. Has nothing to do with me. Folks try to put their hands into folks' marriages, trying to tell a person what to do about this and that. None of my business. If I preach a doctrine that is generic, it's not personal. People say, you trying to nosy around in my marriage bed. No, I'm not. I'm not telling you what to do in your marriage bed. I'm preaching the generic gospel. What you do about it is your business. You won't find me reacting to you one way or the other. Well, I don't believe what you said. That's your right. See, you bear no burden of proof, and you're not trying to make people do anything. I use the postman as my example. I have a letter here. Here is your letter. I turn around, I get into the postal truck. I don't care if you like it or hate it. I just deliver a message. When you get like that, you're free to represent Jesus Christ. Because if you respond to the reactions to the message, you're going to be down here a long time, caught up in all kinds of discussions about foolishness. I let all the folks on the internet that hate the message scream at me, but I never scream back because I don't care. It doesn't matter. If you believe what you believe, go with that. So I don't want to have anything to do with this ministry because, fine, that's no problem. I wouldn't either if I were you. If I didn't believe anything about it, I wouldn't have anything to do with it either. I'd leave it alone. Why are you fooling around with it? It's very simple. If it doesn't incorporate you in it, what's it to you? You can walk on with Jesus Christ. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. All you do is proclaim what you believe. It could be true, false, or whatever. Do you believe it? and you're proclaiming it. Now everybody around you has the God-given right to accept it or reject it. And you'll find out what you believed yesterday, you might not believe tomorrow, because you got a greater understanding of truth. You thought you had it, but you didn't. It's like people teaching people to observe the law. They don't know because they are trapped in their senses and they're on the horizontal plane trying to perform still. I mean, they might peradventure one day get loose from the horizontal and understand, you know what? I can just be. That's too hard right there. See, they can't comprehend what I just said. They were waiting for me to finish that. You could just be what? What? What's the punchline? All right, I'll say it again. You know what? In the Lord, you can just be. Be what, you idiot? Finish the statement. You can't end a sentence with I can just be. You have to say what you have to be. God tells Moses, I am. Okay. You are what? What? I am that I am. That's crazy. When you are really transformed in your mind, you'll be able to just be. And the world and the carnal mind cannot process that. When you walk around in a state of just being, you'll be in perfect peace. Because nothing on the outside moves you one way or the other. I just am. What he really says is, when he says I am, he says, tell them I exist sent you. I just exist. I am. See how the human mind just, oh man, that's a hard saying. Who can do this? Who can hear this? It's the way it is. When you get like this, you're not jumping and popping and running and irritated and upset and crazy and responding to everything, because you'll find out any given thing in any given situation, it'll just blow off anyway in a day. Whatever you're mad about right now today, the same thing won't be happening tomorrow at this time, so what difference did it really make? But when you're still in the flesh and you're carnal and sense-driven, you respond to everything emotionally. You need one good heaping helping of deliverance. That's what you need. You need to get that flesh deadened and those demons that are inspiring your flesh cast out. He says, strengthened with all might according to its glorious power unto all patience and long suffering with joyfulness. Joy. And you know the joy of the Lord is your strength. Giving thanks unto the Father, which hath made us meet or able to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in light, who have delivered us from what? The power of darkness. That Greek word for power there is exousia, the authority of darkness. Darkness has authority on this planet. We've been delivered from the authority of darkness. Why? Because in verse 12 he says we're partakers of the inheritance of the saints in light. We're in light. That delivers us from the power of darkness. So darkness should not have any power over you. When they crucified Jesus and they came to take him, Jesus told them, this is the power, the authority of darkness that's doing this. I'm a man, I heal the sick, I cast out devils, I raise the dead, I only help people, and the powers of darkness were offended by it because I was taking the people on a vertical exodus. That's what offends them. The devil gets offended when you begin to lead people out of the world and take them vertical. Forget everybody around you. Go vertical. That's why your mama gets upset. Your daddy gets upset. They used to controlling you and yoking you, and now you're telling them, yeah, I really don't. It don't matter no more. It don't make any difference anymore. So they used to be able to stimulate you with all that yakety yakking at you. Now you just tell them, I just can't respond. I just, whatever you want to do is fine with me. Folk, like, have you ever figured out that folk like to get you upset? It's something about a person that loves to get another person upset. And when you stop getting upset, they know what? I've lost control of you. They like to make you cry. They might like to make you angry. They like to make you feel rejected, unworthy, all that kind of stuff. See, that's the power of darkness. That's the devil. He likes to manipulate the inside of you so he can stand there and say, see how weak you are. Why are you crying? Why are you crying? What you crying about? Because you just beat me down, berated me, put me down, cursed me out, and you were just wanting to see me cry. It's like the Temptations. And I wish it would rain because I don't want nobody to see me cry. You know, the whole song sung about I want to go outside in the rain because I don't want them to see me cry. See, this stuff here is crazy. Dramatics. I wish it would rain. The Temptation was I wish it would rain. The Dramatics was I want to go outside in the rain. Both of them had been heartbroken by a woman, and I don't want this woman to see me crying. And that's how the devil will do you. He'll make you cry just so he can glory in your flesh in the fact that he's able to emotionally damage you. He loves that. It's evil at a very, very low degree. It's evil at its worst. That's why you got to be delivered from soulish, carnal, emotional, carnally driven inputs. Because he'll manipulate you all day. And folks are going to see you as unloving, uncaring, unfeeling. Price, you must be some type of an automaton. You're a robot. You're inhuman. You're the robot on Lost in Space. You have no feelings. I don't want any part of this. I mean, you don't even see the practical need of people needing the care and the love. And look, all this stuff you're talking about is not emotions. Love is not an emotion. Love is God's presence. God is love. God will tell you a lot of stuff that your feelings ain't going to like. Well, when God told that to me, I felt bad. He didn't care if you felt bad. He didn't care. He does not downgrade his word to accommodate carnal feelings. If you haven't figured that out, I don't know what to tell you. You can't be anything of significance in life if you bow to carnal feelings. You can't. My wife will tell you she done cried a lot of times talking to me. But it don't change nothing. Hey, it still is what it is. Here's a handkerchief. But I'm going to still be doing what I just said I'm going to do. I'm not changing one iota, not 1 inch. If you saw the letters I get and the phone calls I get and the emails I get and the messages I get, I said, well, look, if you want to believe that, that's fine. I'm not changing one iota, not one drip drop for you, not 1 inch. See, Price, you know what your problem is? You're proud. You're arrogant. You think you know everything. No, I don't. But I'm not going to become some wishy-washy, double-minded, limp-wristed, twiggy, little weak-kneed sissy that's in and out, half in, half out. The Bible informed me in James, a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. Don't let that man think he's going to receive anything from the Lord. So therefore, if I'm going to be wrong, I'm really wrong. I'm sincerely wrong. So I can be made sincerely right if somebody corrects me. But to be like, I just don't know. I don't know if the Lord, I don't know if Jesus might be the Savior. Then again, it might be him. I don't know. How you going to live life like that? You have to know whom you believe. And you have been totally persuaded that he's able to keep that you have committed to him against that day. You've got to be totally persuaded in your own mind. And folks won't like that because the devil's always trying to pull you out here into some, gray area to accommodate everything. See, we should become an all-inclusive church where everyone is saved. No, everyone is not saved. That's just the way it is. So if you got a guy, especially, that's sissy sensitive, you got a mess. Because a lot of you women don't understand. A lot of times what you're doing is testing that guy. You don't know it. You don't go into the process thinking, I'm getting ready to test him. But what a woman will do instinctively is she'll see if she's got a strong foundation here. And if you can break this guy down, guess what? See that little fine baby works with on the job? She can break him down too, just like you. If you use sex on your husband to control him, you know what? See a little fine babe on the job? She can use sex to control him too. What you got is a pile of nothing that you're able to manipulate, meaning everybody, every woman that's just like you can manipulate them too. You got no strong foundation. He says, who has delivered us from the power of darkness and have translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son, in whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins. Delivered us from the power of darkness, the authority of darkness, and hath translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son, in whom we have redemption. We've been bought back. To redeem something is to buy it back through what? His blood was a ransom. That's the ransom that was paid to buy back the human race, the blood. See, the wages of sin is death. And without the shedding of blood, there's no remission or washing away of sin. A ransom had to be paid to Satan in order to buy back the kidnapped entity God was getting back, which was his children. I ransomed my only begotten Son, his life, so that there could be no accusation made against everybody else. Sin came into the world by one man, wherefore righteousness came into the world by one man. Sin was imputed to the whole human race through Adam. Righteousness is imputed to the whole human race through Jesus. But guess what? You must accept the ransom. You can't ransom somebody that likes the kidnapper and chooses to stay with the kidnapper. The whole world has been saved. Individuals in the whole world have to accept it, receive it, believe it, walk in it, or it's not applicable to them. It doesn't apply to you. Remember the Old Testament when the death angel came to Egypt? If the blood was on the doorpost, the death angel will pass over you. Jesus died when? During the Passover. He was the Passover lamb. The same lamb that was split open to put the blood on the lintel of the doorposts of the Israelites in Egypt. It's the same lamb that was broken open on a cross and applied to the doorpost of your life. And when God sees the blood, guess what he does? He will pass over you. The death angel won't visit you. You can't get a better deal than this. But there are many in the human race that spit on the blood sacrifice, spit on the lamb, and refuse to take that blood and apply it to their lives. So therefore, the death angel is on his way to visit you. What can we do about it? Preach the gospel. Warn the righteous, warn the wicked. The devil's replacement and displacement for this is religion. They want a bloodless cross. We want to just work our way in, never accepting the sacrifice of Jesus, and be accounted worthy from our own works. Can't make it that way. If he doesn't see the blood of the Lamb applied to you, The death angel will be your lot in life. He says, talking about Jesus, who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. For by him were all things created. This is Jesus now. That are in heaven and that are in earth. Visible and invisible. What are you saying? There's an invisible creation? You mean to tell me there's a whole nother creation that you can't even see? Visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. These are rankings of angels. There are 9 rankings of angels to include thrones, dominions, principalities, powers, also virtues of one rank. It's different rankings of angels. So he's saying he created all the ranks of angels. He created all things visible and invisible. All things created by him, and they are all what? You can't get past Jesus. I created everything, and everything is for me. That's Jesus speaking. Why not just stop all the foolishness and centrally focus on Jesus and find out his mind, his will, his dictates for my life? Let me just walk in his ways, and whatever he wants is fine with me. Because all things were created by him, and all things are for him. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist. What does that mean? They're held together. His spoken word holds the universe together, both seen and unseen. If you knew all the power that Jesus had, you'd be terrified of him. See, we'd have downgraded him to like a little shepherd boy. Every time you see Jesus in Roman Catholicism, Mary is holding a little baby. Man, you don't want to, look, you don't want to be fooling around with Jesus. He is the spokesperson of the Godhead. God the Father gives him directions. He says it. He communicates to the Son, and when the Son says it, it happens. That's what rhema word is. It's the word that comes out of Jesus' mouth. That's the two-edged sword now. You can pray all day. You can pray for 6 years, 10 years. No answer is Jesus didn't say anything. But if he ever answers that prayer and says something, man, heaven and earth will begin to move because he spoke it. Faith comes by hearing. Hearing comes by the rhema of God. See, if you don't have the rhema spoken out of Jesus' mouth in real time, that's not what faith rides on. You've got something else. You got the Bible you're reading. You can read the Bible all day and proclaim it all day, and nothing will happen. But if you proclaim it and Jesus Christ is speaking ex cathedra from a place of enthronement on you, in you, and he says it through you, it will happen. That's why the apostle says in Acts to Ananias and Sapphira, you didn't lie to a man, you lied to the Holy Ghost, and they dropped dead. That wasn't Peter speaking. That was the Holy Ghost speaking through Peter under the auspices of Jesus Christ. See, the Holy Ghost is the anointed one on earth. He's the representative. The Bible calls him a paraclete, one that comes up alongside to help you. So when the Holy Ghost speaks, he is speaking the mind of Christ. The inspired mind of Christ is vocalized through the vocal cords of the Holy Ghost-filled believer, and things will happen. It's terrifying what we're involved in, but we haven't seen it come to fruition yet. When it comes to full stature and God manifests himself, that's terrifying on this planet. A manifested Son of God is a terrifying individual because you'll be speaking really as what the Pope calls himself, the vicar of Christ. You're a vessel of Christ. You have actually diminished, you have decreased, and Christ has really increased. That's not just scriptural quotation. And when you say something, it will happen. That's why you got to be reined in. Your tongue got to be reined in to walk with God, because you don't want to just be walking around talking under the auspices of the anointing of the Holy Ghost. Had a bunch of kids called the prophet bald-headed. He cursed them in the name of the Lord. And they got torn to pieces. See, you can't fool around with somebody that's really got the anointing of God on them for real, that's got power. Because God might just respond to you. Ananias and Sapphira had probably been lying a lot of years, a lot of times. But that one time, he caught up with them because they lied to the wrong person. So he says, by him all things are held together, they consist. And he is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he might have the preeminence. Now you see, he's the beginning, the firstborn from the dead. So you see now, this is something Derek Prince does an excellent job of teaching. When Jesus came out of the grave, you were looking at a whole new race of people, a whole new species. He's the firstborn of the resurrected people, firstborn from the dead. So you see now, he's the beginning of this race of people, the resurrected race of people. See, it's terrifying to look at a man walking in front of you that was once dead. That's kind of, man, that's kind of creepy. If your granddaddy died and tonight he's in your room, it's kind of like, hold it, wait a minute. You're making a door where there was no door. You're making a window where there was no window. Look, we buried your granddaddy. You saw him put him in the grave. You saw him covered with dirt. They put a headstone on his grave. Now tonight, you go home and in a rocking chair, your granddaddy's rocking in your rocking chair. Okay, why would you run? That's just your granddaddy. You've been knowing him for the last 35, 40, 50 years. That's just your grandfather. Why are you running from it? You walk in the room and, Natasha, come to your granddaddy. Come here, girl. I ain't seen you. Now, he been calling you like that for the last 20, 25 years. What's the big deal now? Yeah, I saw him die. And you really be scared if they cremated him. You're like, hold it. Hey, look. That's reality. So you're walking around as a walking dead man. Now the apostles saw this man crucified. Now he's coming through a wall where you're meeting. Good evening, Peter, James, John. Good evening. Nail scar still in his hand. Side still ripped open from the sword. Now have you ever thought about this? If Jesus resurrected with all these scars on him, where are the scars now? Probably still on him. They're still on him. The Bible says when he returns, the Israelites will look upon him whom they have pierced as a testimony to the universe for all of eternity. God leaves the marks on the body of Jesus Christ forever. If that wasn't true, he wouldn't resurrect with the marks on him, because he had a glorified body, still scarred. So what I'm saying is this. We're dealing with something that is so far removed from human thinking that your mind has to be radically transformed to deal with God. Religion and churchianity won't get you over to what I'm talking about. You've got to go through the real process of change, transformation, reworking the inner man so you can know God for real. Look at this. He says he'll have the preeminence in everything, firstborn from the dead. Verse 19, for it pleased the Father that in him should all fullness dwell, and having made peace through the blood of his cross, by him to reconcile all things unto himself. By him I say, whether they be things in earth or things in heaven. And you that were sometime what? Alienated and enemies, where? In your mind. What made you alienated? What made you foreign to God? What made you an enemy of God? The way you thought. Your mind. By wicked works. The works are a display of what you think. yet now hath he reconciled. He's reconciled. He's brought you back into alignment under himself. When you reconcile your bank book, you make sure everything balances. He's reconciled us. He's brought us back into balance with himself in the body of his flesh through death, to present you holy and unblameable and unreprovable in his sight. Now look at this. All of that applies to you based on verse 23. And the first word in verse 23 is what? If. If you bypass the if-then statements in the Bible, you will be in a delusion. All this is applicable to you if you continue in the faith, grounded and settled, and be not moved away from the hope of the gospel which you have heard, and which was preached to every creature which is under heaven, whereof I, Paul, am made a minister, who now rejoice in my sufferings for you, and fill up that which is behind of the afflictions of Christ in my flesh, for his body's sake, which is the church. The church is the body of Christ. Whereof I am made a minister according to the dispensation of God, which is given to me for you to fulfill the word of God, even the mystery which hath been hid from ages and from generations, but now is made manifest, it's been shown to his saints. It's a mystery that has been shown to the saints, to whom God would make known what is the riches of the glory of this mystery among the Gentiles. What's the mystery, Paul? Which is Christ in you, the hope of glory. That's the mystery. That's the mystery. That the resurrected Christ via the Holy Ghost is alive in you. That's the mystery of the ages. The promise made to Abraham eons ago, the Bible tells us, was the promise of the Spirit. That's the mystery. That I'm going to impart the Holy Ghost into humans, and my Son, Jesus Christ, will live in them, walk in them, and talk through them. That's the mystery. But you cannot have it happen until you have achieved a vertical victory. That you are detached from the thinking elements around us, and you're not actually inspired by the environment coming through your five senses. You can't think the thoughts of God. You can't walk in obedience to God. You can't fulfill the mystery of God as long as your five carnal senses dictate to you, because they are telling you a false reality. You have a virtual reality guiding you that's going to displace, replace, and delay the manifestation of God coming through you, because you're getting all these inputs and reacting to them. That's the mystery. Christ in you, the hope of glory. Paul says in Galatians, I labor with you in birth pains until Christ be formed in you. He goes on and jumps on them in Galatians chapter 3 and says, O foolish Galatians, who have bewitched you? Later he says, having begun in the spirit, being formed into the image of Christ, are you now perfected in the flesh? You go back to works, you go back to the law, you go back to performance, you go back to trying to work your way in carnally. I started you in the spirit. You can't be perfected in the flesh. Man, this makes so much sense. He says, Christ in you, the hope of glory, whom we preach, warning every man and teaching every man in all wisdom, that we may present every man perfect in Christ Jesus. Mature is what perfect means. It doesn't mean you join what we have in Atlanta, the perfect church, around the corner over there. Everybody mean and angry and under the law, telling you need to be perfect. And they're just as mad and mean and crazy and greasy and oily and stank as they can be. That's the truth. Greasy women with unkempt hair, wearing dresses down to their ankles, talking about they're perfect. with all that Crisco oil on you, trying to grease up and oil up. Look, stop. Folks are always trying to make the greasy. That's okay. Thomas White, let me explain that. Greasy Crisco oil to get the ash off of your skin as a black person after you take a shower. All right, now, so all the white people listening, you have been enlightened as to the black plight. So they're walking around like that, trying to tell you to be perfect. And you're just trying to tell them, look, stop. 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 You're not perfect. Yes, we are. We're the perfect. He said, be ye perfect, for I am perfect. And we are all perfect. Everything about us is perfect. We are perfect. If you're perfect, I like to see somebody that's messed up. Whereunto also labor, striving according to his working, which works in me mightily. The apostle is not bragging. His work is working in me mightily. Because I got the proof. He says the gifts of an apostle accompany me everywhere I go. I'm not just telling you a bunch of airheaded data. You see what I'm doing. It's like Jesus said, if you don't believe what I'm saying, believe the miracles. If you don't believe my words, believe the power. So you got a twofold cord here, man, when you deal with the gospel. You don't believe what I say, believe what I do. Believe the power. And see, when we see this thing really manifest itself, I'm going to show you why the world is going to be filled with so much animosity against the church. They can't replicate the power. Chris Angel can't replicate the power. When God moves, raising dead people, restoring withered limbs, putting eyes back into sockets that were gouged out, Chris Angel can't replicate the power, good buddy. Chapter 2. Now he begins to warn against errors. Now look how now watch these errors now, because we're surrounded by this right now. Facebook is full of this stuff. It's replete with erroneous doctrine that you need to just delete and unfriend. For real, you don't have time to fool around with trying to discuss it. Unfriend it, or them, or whatever it is, and move on, because they are trapped in their own minds. This is all circular thinking. They're wondering where? In a wilderness of their own mind. They're circling under the law, not able to break out and come into the fullness of Christ, going vertical. So they try to get you ensnared with always talking about their open-ended foolish questions over and over again. The Bible tells you it only brings striving, endless genealogies, endless questions, endless debates. Man, forget that. Go vertical. Y'all stay over here, discuss that. All of y'all in that little discussion group, discuss it. I'm going vertical. Sayonara, arrivederci, au revoir, in any other language that means bye, I'm gone. So you got to do this for you. For you. It's about you and Jesus now. Titanic has hit the iceberg. The ship is going over and under. Every man for himself. That's the last thing the captain does. That's the last announcement he makes. Because you know the captain has to go down with the ship. Okay, the ship is going, the Titanic flipped on, I think it was bow up or something. It was up, I forget what it was. It was standing on, on this, not on this side, but it was standing like, tip to tip, tilted up. And then it began to sink straight down. So look at the Empire State Building standing out of the ocean, and then it goes under. And the captain is standing there, every man for himself. That's the way the end times going to be. You think you got friends, don't you? Let the end times really break out. It's going to be everybody. Hey, look, I got oil in my lamp. Now, I was a wise virgin. Now, there's 10 of us here. 5 of y'all was stupid. I got oil in my lamp. My lamp is trimmed. The bridegroom is coming. The 5 unwise virgins can you loan me some oil? Look, I think it's a Walmart down at the corner, and they sell some oil for lamps. I just got enough oil for me. You don't think folks will share with you at the end of time. They got just enough oil to get them in, and they are not sharing oil. So you better get oiled up on the inside as opposed to the outside. Ask you black folk, oil up on the outside. Saints, oil up on the inside. You better get full of this oil and light it. Because the bridegroom is only coming for the virgins that have their lamps lit. The end time is going to separate the wheat from the tares, the goats from the sheep. Everybody that took it lightly and didn't respond, they're not going to make it. Look at this. He says he got a great conflict. A great conflict he has for the people at Colossae and the people at Laodicea. And for as many as have not seen my face in the flesh, that their hearts might be comforted, being knit together in love and unto all riches of the full assurance of understanding, to the acknowledgement of the mystery of God and of the Father and of Christ. So he says, I want everybody's heart to be knit together in love. Love is defined by selflessness. And unto all riches of the full assurance of understanding, to the acknowledgement of the mystery of God and of the Father and of Christ. We already told you the mystery was Christ in us, individual Christian temples. In whom, now Christ, he was referring to Christ now, in whom, in Christ, are hid all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. In Christ, every treasure of Sophia and Gnosis are hidden. Sophia and Gnosis, that's what the Greeks bathed their minds in. That's Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, all these Greek philosophers. Philosophy is the love of Sophia. Philos, Sophia. Love of wisdom. So wisdom is Sophia. So here it is. He says, all the wisdom you philosophers are looking for is found in Christ. All the knowledge you Gnostics are looking for. Gnosticism is a Greek religion almost. They worship the mind. All the knowledge you're looking for, all the wisdom you're looking for is in Christ. Get him, you got everything you need forever. And man is got libraries full of carnal minds telling them data. They go to the psychiatrist, psychologist, the PhD. They're looking for knowledge. They're looking for wisdom. They're looking for information. They're listening to Steve Harvey tell you as a woman how to be a good woman and a good wife and how to deal with a man. Think like a man. Live like a woman, or whatever he tells you, that stupid, philosophical, crazy gibberish. And folks are buying these books trying to do what Steve Harvey, a comedian, told you to do. You went to a comedian to tell you how to be a woman. Now think about what I'm a woman. I go to a comedian to tell me, a big old 250-pound comedian with a mustache, trying to tell me how to be a woman. You don't know how to be a woman without Steve Harvey telling you? That's pathetic. Steve Harvey has to tell you how to be a woman? Go at least 90 days before you have sex with a man. Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey getting ready to see you in hell because you're a fornicator. He's advising you on how to go to hell, and of course he'll raise his hand afterwards and say, praise the Lord. I'm a Christian. I'm down at Jake's every year at the Mega Fest, or whatever you call it. He's invited in for comic relief as a Christian comedian. These people have been brainwashed by the world. Why? They have not undergone a vertical victory. they're still looking on the horizontal for advice and philosophical views from folks that don't even know Jesus. He has all the philosophy and knowledge you need within the confines of his mind. So the search is over. I need the mind of Christ. That's why 1 Corinthians chapter 2 tells us we have access, we are privy to the mind of Christ. And this I say, lest any man should do what? Now, who's that remind you of a beguiling individual? That tells you who's doing the beguiling. Behind the scenes is Satan beguiling you through philosophy and Gnosticism. And this I say, lest any man should beguile you with what? Now, enticing words do what? What's the word entice mean? To draw out. They're trying to draw you out into the atmosphere around you, the horizontal. That's what I'm telling you. Everything the devil does is trying to draw your mind out. Come away from this Christ stuff. Come away from people who really have the wisdom of God and the knowledge of God that's actually challenging you to go vertical. Come out here. Come on out. He drew Eve out from under God. He drew her mind out. Then she drew out Adam's mind out from under God, and the devil had them out in the sense realm. The Bible calls it earthly, sensual, which is a door opening to what? The demonic. Earthly, sensual, devilish. That's the process. He gets you to bind your mind to the earth. Your senses open up, your 5 senses, and that opens up a conduit to your mind to allow the demons in. And now your thoughts are demonically inspired, and by nature you'll become a person that is the antithesis of God. You become an antichrist thinker. You think opposite of Jesus, and you become what the Bible calls alienated where? In your mind. That's the process I'm describing. That's why you can allow to let any spirit, whether it be human, demonic, or any other spirit, the Bible says even if an angel comes preaching another gospel other than what we have preached, let that angel be accursed. You can't let anything, anybody, or any circumstance draw you into the horizontal realm, especially as you see the day approaching. I can't fathom why somebody would still be trying to fool around with something down here as you see the Titanic sinking. That's crazy. If you have hope only in this life, you are of all men most miserable, the Bible says. See, it says, with enticing words, they try to beguile you, draw you out into the flesh. For though I be absent in the flesh, yet am I with you in the spirit, joying and beholding your order and the steadfastness of your faith in Christ. I'm not there physically, but my spirit, through visitations and visions from God, is able to see you. I'm looking at you. I'm beholding what you're doing. This man may be miles away, hundreds of miles away, able to see what's going on here amongst the Colossians. As you have therefore received Christ Jesus the Lord, so walk you in him, rooted and built up in him and established in the faith, as you have been taught, abounding therein with thanksgiving. Beware, beware, beware. That's a word flashing in red in your Bible. Outlined in red, highlighted in red. Beware, lest any man spoil you through what? Philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments or elements of the world, and not after Christ. If they're not speaking ex cathedra with Christ enthroned, if they're not speaking under the inspiration of Christ, if it's not from the mind of Christ, beware, because they're going to spoil you with philosophy that came from a carnal human mind yoked in covenant to demons. That's why the Bible speaks of in 1 Timothy chapter 4, doctrines of demons. For in him dwells all the fullness of the Godhead bodily. And you are complete where? Don't even go outside the fence, buddy. I'm complete in Christ. I need no additions. I don't need any accessories. I'm complete in him, which is the head of all principality and power. Now you know now, in the world of the philosophers, in the world of education, in the world of the Masons, you always graduate and progress through acquiring degrees. Study it for yourself. All you did when you finished high school and college and graduate school was put on the robe of the magicians with that square hat on your head, switching the tassel from what, the left to the right, saying you were being initiated and crossing over. And at the end of the ceremony, what did they hand you? Here's your degree, my fellow magician. And now you think you got it. But what did you just announce to the world? I have fulfilled the requirements to be a part of your system. And you know that I know the mysteries that make me able to do this particular thing. See, everybody gets a degree in a particular discipline. And when you master it, you get what? A master's degree. When you're able to teach others about the mysteries of that particular discipline, what do you get? A doctorate. See, I mastered it. Now, after I go another step, I'm able to now instruct it. And I am a PhD in it. The Masons take you from first degree through, I think, as high as 33rd degree, where you really find out that the devil's running the train. You always have to graduate. You go through gradual steps into being trusted and entrusted by the devil with his what? His mysteries. Witches go through graduations. They have to go through particular disciplines to get very, very, very astute at performing the spells and knowing the mysteries that control the witchcraft. You have to be allowed to graduate. So where do you think all these robes come from in graduation ceremonies, and then they put a hood on you to show that you're a particular something or another? I got this hood. Then you got and tassels all around your neck to show that. See, you don't understand what's going on. Oh, Lord, I need to renounce my degree. Look. I'm just telling you, it's a world system, and it's set up a certain way for a reason. It comes from Greece, and the philosophers and the Gnosticism of Greece that commended people based on their knowledge and their progression through the university systems and the systems designed to show that you were part of the Greek culture and you had been educated to do what? Think Greek. Do you not know that's what a bowel is for the mind? Educated people a lot of times are a hard nut to crack because they've been taught systematically to trust in the culture of the Greeks, and they think Greek. It's a system. It's a systematic programming of the mind to think anti-God thoughts. And what would they tell you? What will be the real thing they stand against God with? Science. It's all about science, man. What you're saying is not scientifically verifiable. We deal with science, logic, and physics. It makes no sense that a man could be created from dirt and the breath of life blown into him. That doesn't make sense. Therefore, we discard it as foolishness. The Bible says the preaching of the gospel to them that perish is what? Foolishness. To the Greeks, it's foolishness because it's not scientifically verifiable to their carnal minds. When you get around those kind of people, you better get in your car and floor it and run for your life. Look at this. Here's a little explanation of Gnosticism, the worship of knowledge in the Greek Empire. The Gnostics separated matter from thought. They concluded that matter was evil and formulated the idea that the possession of knowledge was the only requirement for salvation. This is why they did not want to attribute humanity to Jesus Christ, because to them, material things were evil. So his material body would have been evil, because everything material was evil. This is Gnosticism. Only the thoughts and mind is where everything mattered. They separated matter from thought. So they worship thinking and the mind. That's what the Greek mind does. Look how anybody that comes across is very intellectual and able to have a lot of oratory and have a lot of deep sayings, and folks that have brilliant oratory and all that stuff right there. It's what the world worships. You get a guy in a pulpit that nobody even understood what he just said. And the folks just talking about, he has such an extensive vocabulary too. Did you understand what he said? Well, no, I don't understand those big words, but it sure sounded good. And man, I just praise the Lord for him. And you can't understand a thing he just said. Did you not know that to listen to rap and hip hop, your mind has to be programmed a certain way? Because you listen to it and say, this is a babbling idiot. Not to the person that's really bathed in it. They understand everything they said, and they see it as a deep intellectual commentary on the social problems in our day. And they'll break apart everything that a rapper says. We'll see what Jay-Z was saying there. See, when he said 99 problems and female dogs ain't one of them, what he was really saying was, see, in the 99 problems we were referring to, the 99 years leading up to, he's thinking, what? And they'll analyze it. Of course, they got to smoke a lot of dope first. They get high on dope. You know how people get deep when they're on dope? You know, they smoke dope and all of a sudden they become a philosopher. They start talking about, I was thinking about, man, the solar system the other day. And how, you see how the moon comes out, it comes out like half moon, quarter moon, full moon. Then I was thinking about how the stars align at particular times in alignment with the planet. And they high as a kite now. I've been smoking dope for 3 days. They're just toe up inside. But then now they're a very astute philosopher. The world loves that kind of stuff. So hip hop and rap is a deep thing to them. It's a deep philosophical thing that you and I just, man, you don't understand how deep Jay-Z is, man. You don't understand the depths of Lil Wayne's mind, man. You don't understand that F word this, F word that, and hoes this and hoes that, and calling women female dogs, and how you gave the dog a bone, talking about how you gave her oral sex and you giving a dog, the female, a bone. And you don't understand what he really saying. Guess what? I don't want to understand what he's saying. This is moronic gibberish, but not to them. That's why they get offended. You see what I'm saying? Every arena and every discipline has devotees to it. And that's why Jay-Z is Hova to them. Jehovah God, the God MC. MC is a master of ceremonies. It's all voodoo. Back in the day, they had Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. You know what a Grandmaster is? He's a Masonic leader. You go down to Haiti, you know what the voodoo doctor will be called? A Grand Master. It's all witchcraft and sorcery. It's all sorcery. It's all divination. It's all casting spells. They know what they're doing. They're enthralling the masses through these spells that are cast. So in Gnosticism, they can't contribute any humanity to Jesus because to them material things were evil. Docetism resulted, which taught that the body of Christ was something that only appeared material, but in reality it was only spiritual. So his body appeared to you to be real, but in fact it was a spiritual body, because there's no materialism that it even exists. We're living in a virtual world. This appears to be real, but it's not. Just like in the Matrix. That's why people know that the Matrix is nothing but Gnosticism. Material world is not real. The mind matter. You see how the computer's hooked into the mind and made you believe that the material world was real, when in fact that's not real. Only the spirit is real. Now this sounds like it's innocent, but let me show you why it's not. They say that it only appeared material, but in reality it was only spiritual, Jesus' body. Such a belief led to an immoral life, for since the spirit was separate from the physical body, they ignored their responsibility for the actions done in the body. See, since it ain't real, if I'm laying up with a man or having sex with a man or a woman or a dog, it doesn't matter because none of this is real anyway. You don't know what's happening to people. This is what's invading people's minds. Their body is just a tool. Women are treated like things, not persons. They're referred to their own body parts as if it's something and they're not somebody. They call their vaginas my stuff. I gave him some. Like it's a commodity that's traded on the stock market. Think about what I'm saying. This is real now. Sex, women now are even able to detach themselves from sex and see it as a commodity they use to trade to get what they want. That's why they marry people for the money. It's real now. They ignored the responsibility for the actions done to the body or in the body. This is the reason why Paul stressed that in him, Jesus Christ, as he appeared on earth, dwells all the fullness of the Godhead bodily. Jesus was truly God in the flesh, according to John 1:14. As a result of the philosophical concept of the evil of the body, the Gnostics ignored or diminished the significance of the historic facts of the ministry. Death and resurrection of Jesus Christ is not being real, but simply it appeared to be real. To them, all the secrets of God were in the mind. So you get a man like Spock on Star Trek. You remember Spock? He had no emotions and no feelings. But he had flashes of human feelings because his mama was human and his daddy was Vulcan. So what short-circuited Spock in some instances was he was half human. If it was fully Vulcan, he would have been detached from the material world and his mind would govern him. These are the ascended masters we know as what? Fallen angels. Fallen angels are ascended masters. When they impart themselves to a human, that human becomes a vessel for the fallen angel, and they are then what Tom just said, a guru. See, a guru is metaphysical. He's mastered metaphysics in that he's detached from you commoners. They got a movie coming out about one of them called Lucy right now, where she's going into 100% of her brain operating. And what's his name? Morgan Freeman is in every movie ever made in the history of the world. Morgan Freeman is in it. That joker been in more movies than anybody. Anyway, Morgan Freeman says, well, she's at 23% of uses of her brain, she'll be able to do thus and so. When she reaches 40% of her brain, she'll be able to control matter. At 60%, she can control other humans. Then the person asking the question said, at 100% of her brain, what can she do? We have no idea. There's no telling what she can do at 100%. He's talking Gnosticism. He's talking metaphysics. He's talking New Age. He's talking transcendent minds. He's talking the ability to go into higher self, whereby the mind overcomes what? Matter. Because the mind is all that matters. Your mind is the litmus test for all truth. As a man is anchored in his mind, he then does what? He sets the parameters for his truth. The old challengers from the 70s and 80s, J.G. Knight and all these folk, know what she'd tell you? You come in here and say, well, Jesus is Lord. Miss Knight, you're channeling demons. And this is of the devil. This is satanic. You know what she'll tell you? That's not my truth. That's your truth. She wouldn't put you down now. If that's your truth, that's fine for you. But you can't append your truth to me, because this is my truth. You know who thinks like that? Oprah. Same. Oprah. That's where she gets this enlightenment teaching from. That's why she's always trying to enlighten people. She'll tell you all the time, just listen to that inner voice, because you can trust that inner voice. You trust that inner voice if you want to. You're going to be driving off of a cliff listening to that inner voice. You got to know Christ. You got to bathe in his word. You got to have a transformed mind. You got to escape this delusional thinking of higher self and higher thought. They're trying to become transcendent masters in their minds. What am I telling you? I'm telling you to achieve vertical victory by accessing the mind of Christ. Not your mind. You need the mind of Christ. You take your mind and you try to ascend, void of Christ, you will ascend. You will become powerful. But guess what? You went through the wrong door. And he says, if you come through any other door other than me, Jesus Christ speaking, you are a thief and you are a robber. The devil can get you into the spirit world, but he'll get you in illegally. And you will have spiritual power. And so you then get lying wonders confirming what you say, because you went through an illegitimate door. Think about this. You got witches and warlocks and new agers and spellcasters who are actually pursuing accessing this power. And a little Christian sitting over here in a Sunday school just singing songs. What's going to happen when a real metaphysical war breaks out and you have no power? Those folks that have sought out Satan's power are going to walk up the front of you and down the back of you, while most of you sit on the internet right now afraid of what I'm saying. And you're preparing yourself for the slaughter. You better power up by divesting yourself of the flesh and letting the mind of Christ anchor you. He says, talking about Gnostics, as a result of the philosophical concept of the evil of the body, the Gnostics, in order to diminish the significance of the historic fact of the ministry, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, is not being real but simply apparent. To them, all the secrets of God were in the mind or appearing in an immaterial identity. The result was a complete denial of sexual and other bodily appetites, i.e., one being virtual asceticism and the other a practice of unrestrained indulgence of the body. So they had two extremes. Now, virtual asceticism means extreme self-denial, austerity, and abstinence. So you get monks in a monastery. That's what Roman Catholics try to practice. Extreme asceticism. We deny ourselves. We don't have sex with anybody. We live alone. If you become like a cloistered monk, you can't even talk. They think that's spiritual. It's nothing but Gnosticism. They think that the way into this state of transcendence is to deny myself totally. The other thinking is the way to get to the extreme place of transcendent living is to totally indulge the body. Now that's what we have right here on earth right now. I deny my body nothing. This is what Greeks did. That's why they had no gender. So when you're like this, you become androgynous. I'm a woman. I have sex with women, men, animals. I smoke dope. I drink liquor. Watch somebody that's taken over by these demons. They begin to indulge every carnal appetite. And it comes from Gnosticism, the mind thinking, I can do anything I want to do. I am a God. That's why these black hip-hop practitioners call themselves G. What's up, G? They're saying, what's up, God? The black man is God. 5%ers. All that's Gnosticism. The only God on earth is, and the real Hebrew is the black man. Hebrew Israelites. We're the black man. The black man is God. The lost tribe of Israel is us. We're the real people of God. Jesus is black. And the only saved folk are black folk. White folks are blue-eyed devils. Now somebody will take that phrase, cut out everything I said, and they'll say, Price said the white people are blue-eyed devils. You're a devil that's doing that, you devil, you. And that's the way it goes. But see, we got to understand this. These epistles are written fighting something. He's not just talking, just fooling around. He's fighting Gnosticism. He's fighting the different inroads that have been made to the church by philosophers. He's fighting all these different teachings of Aristotle and Socrates and Plato. He's fighting the Greek culture. He's the apostle sent to the Gentiles. He's warring against folks that are coming in with all kinds of doctrines and dogmas that are trying to draw the people where? Out from under Christ and the mind of Christ. He says, I'm not fighting as one that wars and beats against the wind. He's got enemies in front of him that are trying to convince the people that the gospel is not the way to go. Come over here into the world of Gnosticism and believe the philosophers. And we're fighting that to this very day. Most of the stuff you see on the internet is nothing but philosophical gibberish. That's all it is. It's not rooted and grounded in the mind of Christ. It's people with their own minds fabricating ideas, not knowing they're as lost as a ball in high weeds. The result was a complete denial of sexual and or other bodily appetites, one being virtual asceticism, and the other a practice of unrestrained indulgence of the body. In this passage, Paul countered the teaching that stressed the way to holiness was through asceticism. He emphasized that spirituality is not achieved by self-centered efforts to control the passions, but by putting on Christ, setting one's affections on him, and in so doing, removing all that is contrary to his will. Furthermore, as far as immaterial knowledge are concerned, true wisdom is not a man-made philosophy. True wisdom is not a man-made philosophy. So evolutionists are depending and banking on a man-made philosophy, a theory, and putting down all their weight on that, and they keep making Planet of the Apes movies to prove it. These people are crazy. So you got to get deep into Christ and get that mind of Christ and get out of here. Now watch this. Let's switch back up on the scriptures here. He says in chapter 2, verse 9. Now he's fighting. Now I said that to show you he's fighting against thinking, philosophical thinking. He dealt with, in verse 8, beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit. And he's talking about philosophers and Gnostics. After the tradition of men, after the rudiments of this world, and not after Christ. Don't let them pull you out from under Christ with their philosophies. For in him dwells all the fullness of the Godhead bodily. Everything that's in God, everything that pertains to God is found in Christ, bodily. Get into him, let him get into you, and you've got it made. And you are complete. You are totally complete in him. which is the head of all principality and power, in whom also you are circumcised, with the circumcision made without hands, and putting off the body of the sins of the flesh by the circumcision of Christ. Where was Christ circumcised? On the cross. He cut off Adam. Circumcision on the 8th day. You know, 8 is the day for resurrection. The ordinance in the Old Testament was to circumcise the male children on the 8th day. Cutting off the foreskin of the penis, which was the life-giving tool. That's where the semen was released. You cut off that foreskin and you circumcise the males to show they belong to God. So we're circumcised by Jesus being cut off from the land of the living, and it cut us off from the land of the living. So why are we still interacting with the land of the living? Huh? We haven't been crucified yet. You got to be crucified with Christ. Nevertheless, I live. No longer I that liveth, but Christ lives within me. So you have to mechanically go through the crucifixion just like Jesus. You have to do your 50%. Remember, Jesus took his body, presented it to the enemy, let them kill him. He said, I can just say one word, and legions of angels will pour out of heaven and destroy everybody within 5,000 miles of here if I just say one word. He had to let them crucify him. He had to present his body for crucifixion. That was Jesus' 50% of the covenant. What was the other 50% of the covenant? Huh? It's an if-then covenant. Remember, agreements are made with if-then statements. The covenant was cut between God the Father and the Son. If you give your body for crucifixion and you die, then I will come get you up and resurrect you out of that grave. I promise you I'll do it. What's the covenant cut with us? Romans 12:1. If you present your body as a living sacrifice, holding yourself unto God, which is your reasonable service, and you're not conformed to this world, but you're transformed by the renewing of your mind, you'll prove the good, acceptable, and perfect will of God. How, God? I will come and resurrect Christ in you, and you'll walk in the Spirit, not to fulfill the lust of your flesh. Everybody trying to get over the flesh and sin and everything in them, give him a body. He has promised to come get you back up again. This is the best deal going. Stop trying and get on with what? Dying. And you can't die ingrained and engaged in everything around you, trying to understand every lunatic fringe person talking to you. That's not my business. I'm headed for a cross, and I'm planning to get on it to end my life here, because it's brought me nothing but heartache, pain, and anguish. We're cut off by the circumcision of Christ, buried with him in baptism, wherein you also are risen with him through the faith of the operation of God. God's faithfulness is going to get you up, who hath raised him from the dead. He's telling us we can go through the same process as Jesus and be resurrected in him by him coming up in us, and we can be totally free from the dictates of the outer court existence. See, everybody in the outer court should not even have any influence over you. Look, there are outer court people, there are inner court people, and there are holy of holies people. Outer court people are fleshly, carnal, lost sinners who don't know anything about God. Inner court people are people that know Jesus, have come to him, but they're soulish. They still have carnal minds. Holy of holies people have left the outer court and inner court alone, and the mind of Christ governs them in every situation. Outer court and inner court people will always try to do what to you? Draw you back out of the Holy of Holies. What would they tell you? It don't take all that. You so religious. You think you so perfect. You think you know everything. Nobody can live like what you're describing. What I'm saying right now, you know, they'll be saying, those outer court and inner court people, nobody can live like what he's saying. And that's a lie. Yes, you can. But you got to be dead and resurrected to do it. And all God is sitting there in heaven waiting for is manifested sons. People who have made up their minds to go through the necessary process to have Christ really in a practical way formed in them. Look at this. Buried with him in baptism, raised from the dead with him. Verse 13, and you being dead in your sins and the uncircumcision of your flesh, hath he quickened together with him, having forgiven you all trespasses. Dead in sin, uncircumcised flesh, still living in the world. Now he's given you a new life and forgave you of everything you did because you let the old you die. That's the deal. That's the covenant. Present me a body, mortify it, deaden it, come away from everything that actually gratifies it, everything that actually inspires it, everything that you can ingest to make it alive, forsake it all. Anything that is giving life to the old fleshly nature, you cut it off. That's the way in. But you know what happened to you and me? You'll know that, but what you'll do is you'll get lazy about it. I know what to do with my mind, but my members war against it. My body don't feel like fasting. I don't feel like praying and reading the Bible. It's more comfortable just to lay right here on this couch and watch this TV with my feet up in the air on this little seat here and just watch TV. I feel real good. Go give me some of that hog slop off the grill, them ribs. Give me some corn on the cob. Potato salad, some coleslaw. French toast, and some lemonade mixed with iced tea. And oh yeah, get that cake out the oven I'm baking. Put lemon frosting on it. And put 2 gallons of ice cream on top of it and bring that here. And praise the Lord. Oh yeah, by the way, praise the Lord. Praise the Lord for providing us with a good meal. Tomorrow, what we having? You can't see how fat church people are. That's what's causing it. I'm not giving them a body. I'm not doing it. I'm keeping it to gratify me. I'm keeping Jesus' body back for me because I got carnal appetites I still want to appease. So I'm going to stay over here and talk church talk all day, but I'm not giving them a body. When you're actually going through the sanctification unto holiness process, you stop talking. You shut up. I got nothing left to say. Why? I'm on my way to Calvary. And when Jesus comes out of Calvary, comes through Calvary and resurrects himself, he don't do a lot of talking because he demonstrates himself. The resurrected life is what we need to be walking in. Crucified. Like I told a brother the other day, he said, man, I done gone through a lot, man, I lost everything, and I still don't have power. I said, you're still crucifying. So a lot of people are crucifying. They're not crucified yet. But they're going through the mechanics, and they're going through the disciplines. They're going through the fasting. They're going through what's necessary. And the folks that are not going through it, they better be worried. Because you got a remnant of people down here that are really doing this. They're actually mechanically doing what's necessary to die to the flesh. And when they come out of that grave, it's going to be on and popping real fast. And I'll show you why. Look at this. He says, you've been forgiven of all your trespasses, blotting out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, which was contrary to us, and took it out of the way, nailing it to his cross. So what's the ordinances? The Bible word for ordinances there is dogmatizo. What's dogmatizo? Laws. Laws were against us because laws were not made for a righteous man, according to 1 Timothy 1:9. Anybody that tries to take you back to the law is going back to a delusion. And you need to avoid them like the plague. is nothing but another manifestation of Gnosticism and philosophical jangling. They don't want to die. They want you to do, perform. You see the trick? I'm going to work my way in by observing laws. Look how Paul strikes out in it. Look at this is not me saying this. Watch the apostle. The apostle is irate about it. And having spoiled principalities, he says, okay, blotting out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, which was contrary to us, and took it out of the way, nailing it, the ordinances, to his cross. And having spoiled principalities and powers, he got into the spirit world, spoiled the principalities and powers that were ruling us. He made a show of them openly, triumphing over them in it. He triumphed over the ruling entities that had been led in to the physical bodies of the humans because of these open conduits to the mind. Now look what he says in verse 16. Let no man. Now what does the word no man mean? No man, nobody, nada, not anybody. Let no man therefore judge you in meat, what you eat, or in what you drink, or in respect of a holiday or holy day, or of the new moon, or of the Sabbath days. Remember, the Sabbath was not a day. The Sabbath entailed Sabbath days. There were different Sabbath days. He says, don't let anybody start trying to bind you with all these rituals, which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is Christ. The laws were just Jesus' shadow. You don't have a shadow now. You got the person. So you don't need to be dealing with shadows, which were foretelling Christ, which were types of Christ, which gave you an inclination of what walking with Christ was about. You got the person now, the Lord Jesus Christ. He says, don't go back to the shadows. Let no man do what? Beguile you, trick you of your reward in a voluntary humility and worshiping of angels, intruding into those things which he have not seen, vainly puffed up, made pride by what? His fleshly, carnal, Adamic, fallen mind, thinking he's being deep, thinking he's got it made, thinking he's figured it out, thinking he's wise. He's a philosophical jangler. He's a Gnostic trying to get you to work your way in by performing all these ritualistic tasks that God does not require. And not holding the head, Jesus Christ, from which all the body by joints and bands having nourishment ministered and knit together increases with the increase of God. Our job is to set you free, not to bind you. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Then he says this. He provides a caveat to that statement. Only use not your liberty as an occasion for the flesh. You're free, but not to live in the flesh. Freedom is obedience to the Lord Jesus Christ, because a free man is giving you his dictates. I'm obedient to a free man, therefore I am free. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberation. Wherefore, because of everything he just said, if you be dead with Christ. Now this is also a if-then statement now. If you are dead with Christ from the rudiments of this world, why, as though living in the world, are you subject to ordinances? Again, the Greek word dogmatizo. We get the word dogma from it, laws. Touch not what you can't touch. Taste not what you can't taste. Handle not what you can't handle. Which all are to perish with the using, after the commandments and doctrines of men, which things have indeed a show of wisdom in will worship and humility and neglecting of the body. I told you about asceticism, neglecting your body, trying to look like you're holy, trying to wear long dresses around your ankles, trying to do all this stuff. I don't wear makeup. I don't do this. I don't do that. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't chew and don't associate with those that do. All of that. And it means absolutely nothing. A bunch of junk that you think up thinking you're doing something holy, and it's just an outward show of nothingness, which are all to perish with the using after the commandments and doctrines of men, which things indeed have a show of wisdom and will worship and humility and neglecting of the body, not in any honor to the satisfying of the nasty flesh. So make you feel good about yourself and think you're somebody, but you're just proud, trying to perform up to the standards of other folks so you look like you fit in. So we all got on white robes and veils and all this junk. We don't have any fingernail polish on, no jewelry, and I'm living a Christian life more holy than you. What you're doing is looking real bad. That's what you're doing. Chapter 3. If you then be risen with Christ, seek those things which are where? I told you it's a vertical victory, where Christ sits on the right hand of God. That word for affection there in the Greek is the word for mind. The next scripture, verse 2, when he says affection, that's mind. Set your affection, set your mind on things above, not on things on the earth. For you are what? Dead. Man. You are dead. You're dead. People that are dead have no interactions negatively or positively with their environment. Go into any morgue. I dare you to get a dead person to interact negatively or positively with you. They have no conscious awareness of you. That's a normal person. You're not caught up in what other people are doing. The Bible calls you then a busybody in other men's affairs. When you got no life yourself, when you don't have the life of Christ and the mind of Christ, when you're not being used by God, all you can do is stumble bum around in other folk business. Mind your own cotton picking business. For you are dead and your life is hid with Christ in God. When Christ, who is our life, shall appear, then shall you also appear with him in glory. Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth: fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry. For which things' sake the wrath of God comes on the children of disobedience, the children of rebellion, in the which you also walked sometime when you lived in them. And now you also put off all these: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth, rapper. Lie not one to another, seeing that you have put off the old man with his deeds, and have put on the new man, which is renewed in what? That word there, epinosis. Epinosis. Renewed in epinosis. What you know what that is? Reknowledging you. It's retooling your knowledge. It's returning the knowledge of God to your mind. See, you were alienated because the knowledge of God was dispatched from your mind. God is retooling the mind through transforming you by returning knowledge about him to your mind. So it's not just gnosis, which is knowledge. It's epinosis, which is basically retooling the knowledge after the image of him that created him. You see how he's returning the image of himself to man? Adam and Eve created in God's image. They lost the image. God, through his knowledge, his words, his wisdom, in understanding of him, through spoken words, through prayer, through fasting, through time spent with him, he's reestablishing the image of God in your mind to end the years of alienation. He's getting rid of the alienation so he can do what? Fellowship with you and me again as sons and daughters of the living God. It makes perfect sense. Where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond nor free, but Christ is all and in all. Remember, by him all things were created, and for him all things are created, and by him all things consist. Christ is the only thing that matters in the whole universe. All you got to be is conform back to him, and your journey as a Christian is over. And the devil has a million ways to try to draw you out. Draw you out. Forget the silly Facebook discussions. Forget the silly debates and all the back and forths. Go vertical. This is a vertical victory. Put on, therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long-suffering, forbearing one another, putting up with one another, and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Christ forgave you, so also do you. And above all these things, put on charity or love, defined by selflessness, which is the bond of perfectness. A perfectly selfless perfect person is the perfect specimen of a Christian. They got no inclination to please and appease self. It's all God pouring through them and out to people, not flowing into you from the outside. And you see how the carnal senses draw in stuff to you? But the spiritual man has outflow. Carnal man, inflow. Spiritual man, outflow. You can always tell them. You know what happened to a carnal man? He will grow weary in this. He'll grow weary because he's operating under his own power. The spiritual man never grows weary. You know why? Because God does not slumber, neither does he sleep. God is a self-sustaining dynamo. God has to be a dynamo because he powers the whole universe. He does not run out of power. He's self-sustaining. He is the source of everything. He needs nothing to empower him. And you'll be the same way. You'll become dynamic. You'll become a dynamo. You'll move through the landscape of the earth with power, because God's self-generating power will be thriving and reviving you. And let the peace of God rule in your hearts, to the which also you are called in one body, and be thankful. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to the Lord. And whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God and the Father by him, referring to Jesus. So vertical victory is a real warfare fought to get out of here. You got two things vying one against the other: mental ascension versus death and resurrection. See, if you don't die to self and let this process take hold of you, where you really are displacing the old you with Christ, the only other choice you'll have is mental ascension. You'll have information mentally ascend as if you are actually a Christian, or you know Jesus, but you have never been put to death and resurrected. So I mentally ascend to the truths of the gospel. When real war breaks out and the devil comes and you got no power, you're going to run, because you really don't have the real goods. You mentally ascended to truth that has never been actually grown in you to become a practical reality. I know about Jesus, but I don't have Jesus. That's the most terrifying thing that can happen to you. You didn't undergo the exchange of the cross, where Jesus Christ gave his life and I gave him mine. So therefore he gave his life for me, I gave him my life, and there was an exchange done. So when he came out of the grave, I came out with him. I identified with the cross with him. I identified with resurrection in him. Now I walk in him and he walks in me. I'm free from all the things around me that could bind me, as long as I don't allow myself to feed on them again. The day that you were born again, you should be methodically feeding on that which is going to grow the nature of Christ in you. That's why the Bible says a newborn babe desires the sincere milk of the word. They begin to feed on the word. This is why the local church is absolutely necessary. Yes. Babes need to be around somebody that's got milk, somebody that's encouraging them, somebody that's motivating them. You can't come out in the world as a young man or woman been fornicating for 20, 25 years, and you got this stuff on you, this lust in you, you know it's wrong, you got folk encouraging you. You got folk to cast the devil out of you. You got the word of God to deaden your flesh. You got everything in operation that's going to actually model Christianity. How to dress. You're a young girl coming out of the world, you don't know how to dress. You got no idea. That's not abnormal. They'll come into church half naked. That's all they know. That's their total wardrobe. You don't need airheaded folk. Look at this whore. Look at this whore coming up in the house of God. Whore! Come to the front of the church, whore. See, somebody need to take a baseball bat and go upside your bone head. Because God is not in the business of undermining salvation. He knows how people are. And he's here to save them. Jesus walked around harlots, but they didn't stay harlots. He walked around all kind of folk. They didn't stay the same. The old saying is, once you meet Jesus, you'll never be the same again. Come as you are, but you won't stay as you are. See, the damage the devil has done to the world is very, very sinister. In that people are cutting out people groups out of their lives based on what they've done. I'll explain that. I'm a young girl. I get covered in tattoos. You've eliminated a group of men that will ever marry you. That's a fact. It might sound bad. It might sound horrendous. It might be heartbreaking. That's the truth. That's the truth. And see, in your mind, if you don't let it go and let God renovate your mind, you will feel the impact of the fact of what you've done. But God will renovate you from the inside out. See, it may be somebody out there that God knows about that won't care. But all I'm saying is there are some people that will care. If you're a guy covered in tattoos from the top of your bald head to the soles of your feet, there are some women that will never marry you. That's a fact. In the church, out of the church, saved, unsaved, black, white, Hispanic, Oriental, it makes no difference. That's a fact, Jack. It is. You can do things to yourself that you just eliminate certain people groups. Here's a girl with a PhD pulling down $180,000 as a college professor. Some guys are eliminated from marrying that girl. That's a fact. That's a fact. It doesn't necessarily have to be monetary, but it's certain conversations that she just can have with certain people because her intellect and her basic academic mind is not going to be able to downgrade to talk to a guy with a third grade education. When she's tries to talk about a new historical discovery in China, and he has there's no basis for conversation. Birds of a feather still flock together. How can two walk together lest they be agreed? It is a basis for fellowship. The unifying bond amongst Christians is Christ. That's it. Because if we looked at the diversity of the human race coming into church, you would make preferential choices based on what you like or don't like. That's why we need the mind of Christ. That's why I bring it up. I'm saying that because what people have done to themselves and through themselves in sin, you got to have the mind of Christ to deal with people. Because you would look at certain people. I don't know. He like a thug. He might rob you after church or something. Why don't you invite this brother over for dinner after? No, man, I got some stuff in my house. I don't want my stuff to be stolen. He like some kind of a thief. He like one of the thieves on the cross or something. No, man. So you got to have the mind of Christ to deal in this environment. If not, you will judge people based on their outward appearance. See, I'm a realist. You can be optimistic, you can be pessimistic. I'm realistic. Folks have preferences. You do things to yourself physically, and some folk gonna just, no. Some women not gonna marry a guy covered in tattoos. It's not gonna happen. In church too. Well, in the church, see, a sister in the church, she gonna be able to overlook that. No, nada, zilp. Forget that. It ain't gonna happen. Some guys are not gonna marry you with tattoos running all the way down your leg and down your back and up your arm and all across your neck and on your forehead. See what the devil is doing though? He is Xing out of your life potentials. He's doing it all by himself and then condemns you. I'm here to tell you, let the mind of Christ take hold on you so it elevates you even past you. You got to get past what you have done to yourself even.
That's right. You gotta forgive yourself.
You see what I'm saying? It's real.
That's right.
If you don't, you'll be even condemned listening to me right now thinking, I got tattoos. Let me cut this internet off. You done brought these tattoos. Now they're going to put me in hell for wearing tattoos. That'll be all you heard me say. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying the external has to be overcome in your mind by letting the mind of Christ take hold on you. Because if you don't, there'll be somebody in a church setting that will bind you. Girl, why you got all them tattoos all over you? You must have been crazy in the world. And they were more crazy than you. They still are crazy because they're talking to you like that. So they're still crazy, trying to tell you about yourself. You got to get out of the flesh. If you don't, it will tear you limb from limb. Talking about a vertical victory. The worldly entertainment is undermining a vertical victory. It's designed to detain you, to enter you with demons, and to enthrall you with the Kardashians and the basketball wives and the wives of LA and Atlanta and the hip-hop wives and the latest news on Wendy Williams. Wendy Williams just let me talk about people all day. Because she's so rejected and so downtrodden inside, all she can do is spew out the venom on other folk all day. As if she's got to this level of being able to talk about somebody else. Are you for real? See, that's what the venom of the world will do, is always looking to put somebody down and undermine somebody instead of lifting somebody up and out. Demonic infiltration will undermine vertical victory. When those demons are in you, they'll do anything they can to stop you from getting to Christ. First, the devil fights to stop you from getting saved. After he couldn't stop that, he fights not to have you walk in victory over him. He tries to stop you and undermine your progression. So you got to have willpower engaged in you to say, you know what? I'm going to fast for 8 days. I'm not talking to anybody for 8 days. I'm shutting it down. And the devil said, no. He used to have people start calling you that you grew up with, calling you, trying to talk to you. Anything for you not to do this. Because he knows it's going to deaden your flesh. So you got to do practical things to get over here. You can be bound in obedience versus works. Bound by works versus obedience, rather. You can be thinking that, hey, I'll work my way in. See, works are carnal. Works are thought up in your own mind to try to please God or to get some kind of reward. That's what tithing is all about in these churches nowadays. You work by, look at silly Paula White. Based on 1 Chronicles 2:29, send $229 to me, and don't you forsake this prophetic warning, because God is promising the month of July to be an outpouring of the blessing if you'll send $229 to me. Now think about this now. If she gets $5,000, you spend $30,000 and do a mail out to 1 million people, telling them that. You get 5,000 people to believe it, you'll make $1 million. Out of 1 million mail outs, 1 million emails, 1 million whatever you send out, and 5,000 people believe it, which is a very low percentage rate now, you'll make $1 million off of that investment. She's just playing a numbers game. She's putting it out massively, knowing most folk want to data dump it and think she's crazy. But she's looking for enough of return. If 1,000 people respond, you got $229,000. All they get is a big enough platform to carry out their dastardly witchcraft. And she's down there pastoring that church she took over from that Timms guy that committed suicide, walking around down there, not even able to be a pastor according to the Bible, calling yourself Pastor Paula White, illegally, and undermining folk with a delusion. That's how bad the devil is carrying out his dastardly, filthy, witchcraft working plan. We put forth a practical response. Let the church become a house of prayer again. Get the Christians equipped to be ministers themselves, and don't worry about following nobody. Put it on Main Street yourself as a soldier of the Lord and do the job yourself. Don't follow anybody. You do the job. That's infallible. You don't have to worry about what Paula White or T.D. Jakes or Joel Osteen does when you do it yourself. One thing I don't have to worry about, if I want to drive myself right now to Detroit, and it's a guy under the wheel, behind the wheel, trying to drive to L.A., and I want to go to Detroit, you know how I can assure I get to Detroit? I take the wheel. I hit him over the head, dump him out of the car, and take the wheel. That's all you got to do. You got one body, you got one life, there's one Christ that's going to be anchored in your body. Do his will when he speaks to you, and you're infallible. That's all we're teaching. Don't follow me, don't follow Tom, don't follow Omar. You get full of the Holy Ghost to be led by Christ, and you'll be able to fellowship with everybody else that's done that. That's the unity of the saints. It's an individualism involved in the collectivism of the church. We're collectively saints of God, but you never leave or lose your individual identity. God is not turning out clones. He's not making robots. You are you, full of the Holy Ghost. And if you dead in that flesh, there's no disparity amongst people in the spirit. Even with your uniqueness, you still just matriculate through the environment, part of the body of Christ. It's just like my body physically. It's an organized organism, but my body doesn't fight each member. My members are not warring against each other. If they were, you know what I'd be? Epileptic. I'd be on the floor having seizures. Why? I got one mind that governs my whole body. My brain physically governs my whole physical body. So there's no disparity. My brain is firing and sending signals as it sees beneficial for my body. Did you not know that right now your brain is automatically doing things inside of you you're not aware of? You're breathing because your brain is making you breathe. Your heart is beating, controlled by brain mechanisms that are firing and sending messages. See, you don't even know it. You do a lot of things you're not conscious of. You know why your eyes are blinking? Because your brain is sending the signals for your eyes to blink. Everything is happening because you got a governing brain that controls your body. You're salivating because of it. Every organ is functioning because of it. You go and urinate and use the restroom because of it. Everything is operating under the auspices of your brain. Put Christ's mind in every saint of God, and you'll have no disparity and confusion in the church. Carnality in the minds of the saints brings confusion into the environment because we're not conformed to the image of Christ through transformation. That's what causes the problem. Works won't get you a spiritual mind. You got to go through the process of death and resurrection, and then you walk in obedience. The carnal mind and the spiritual mind are at war. Romans chapter 8. Read it on your own time. Romans 12 says to return your body as a living sacrifice to prove the good and perfect and acceptable will of God. 1 Corinthians 6, beginning at verse 9 through 20, is telling us that the body is for the Lord and the Lord is for your body. The body is not for fornication, it says. You can see this thing is all about letting Christ rule in the mind. It's not mental ascension. It's not New Age. It's not metaphysics. It's not higher thought. It's the mind of Christ taking over. The mind is being held captive by the devil. 2 Corinthians 4, 1 through 4, the devil takes people captive at his will. If the gospel is hid, it is hid to them that are lost, in whom the God of this world has blinded what? The mind, lest the glorious light of the gospel should shine through. 2 Corinthians 11, 1 through 15, talks about the other Jesus, the other gospel, and the other spirit. How the Bible says that the devil himself is transformed into an angel of light, and his ministers become ministers of righteousness. They append themselves to the carnal mind. What does that make people into when they minister the word? Emotional magicians. Emotional magicians. They're able to access the people through their five senses, and the people think that's the Holy Ghost. The master of that is T.D. Jakes. He has mastered being an emotional magician. He can go on for 15 minutes with a dialogue and explaining something that's very simple, working you up by degrees with every word he says. And so you got that frenetic energy, and you're jumping around thinking that's the Holy Ghost and God. It's just emotionalism. It came through your five senses. God is not soulish. He does not speak to your soul. He speaks to your spirit and deals with your soul. God speaks logically. He speaks very analytically to your spirit, and your spirit governs your emotions. That effeminate spirit in Jakes deals with effeminate men and Jezebel whorish women. He stays in the outer court or the inner court. He does not minister from the Holy of Holies, where the mind of Christ is seated at the right hand of the Father. You got to be right there in Christ. You see, if Christ is sitting ex cathedra next to his Father, enthroned next to God the Father, if you've got his mind and you're in him and he's in you, guess where you're sitting? In heavenly places, seated in Christ, having access to every word the Father says to the Son, and you are actually giving it out to the spirits that need to be born again and or sanctified. And it benefits you then. But emotionally working you up, it'll go like a wave over you. It'll feel good for a minute like drugs, but the high is going to wear off. Jakes has mastered it. Joel Osteen has mastered the feel-good part of it, the motivational part of it. It's still soulish. Creflo Dollar has tied into your greed and getting something back by what you give. It's still soulish. Paula White, she is the master of femininity and witchcraft. A girl, young girl in the pulpit with stiletto heels on, walking around, trying to be a little sexy gal, trying to tell you something that's going to appeal to your desire to have a mother talk to you. Why'd you go to a black church full of black folks? Rejected black folks, used to feminine character, used to their mama being dictatorial over them, and bound worshiping an image of a white woman, helping us little black folk make it to God. It's nothing but soulish manipulation of people that are bound by character traits that are displayed through their souls and their flesh that came from slavery. Still looking for somebody to lead me to the promised land. And a white woman is the perfect mixture. She's white, so she's right. She's a woman, I'm used to matriarchal authority and control. It's the perfect mixture. I'm trying to be Greek. I'm trying to be Roman. The Roman citizenry is governed by white male authority in America. And at the same time, I'm incapacitated and matronized, so I need a woman. It's the perfect mixture. If you get black folks over here in authority, you'd have black folks that represent the Roman Greek Empire. It's just black folks. Go to Africa, it's black. Go to Latin America, it's Hispanic. Go to the Orient, it'll be Oriental. It's the reps that matter, not the race. They're all Roman, they're all Greek. They have Greek minds, and their university degrees prove that they've been certified. That's why they look at Bill Clinton. That's a real intellectual president. He's a Rhodes Scholar. He is a genius. He don't have enough sense not to have oral sex with a girl in the Oval Office. Letting you know intellect does nothing to get rid of unrighteousness and sin. What's the way out? Let's take a quick look at the way out and we'll wrap it up. Romans chapter 6. Remember those scriptures, study them in your own time. Romans chapter 8, Romans 12, 1 Corinthians 6, 9 through 20, 2 Corinthians 4, 1 through 4, 2 Corinthians 11, 1 through 15. Remember those scriptures, study them in your own study time, read them over and ingrain them in your mind. The way out of this world and experiencing a virtual victory found in Romans chapter 6. We'll read it through and that'll be a wrap for today. Romans chapter 6, look at this. We're going to read 6 through 14. 1 through 14, I'm sorry. We're going to read Romans chapter 6, verse 1 through 14. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Now, he had just saying that in verse 21 of chapter 5, that as sin hath reigned unto death, even so might grace reign through righteousness unto eternal life by Jesus Christ our Lord. He was trying to make the case that we're under grace. We're under grace. In Jesus Christ, you're under grace. We made the case earlier that grace piggybacks on truth. Who is truth? Jesus is truth. So grace is found within Christ. There is no grace outside of Christ. So if folks tell you they're under grace and they're not saved, you're not under grace, you're damned to hell. You want grace? It's the grace of Jesus Christ that is imputed to you and me because we're in Christ. Everything we experience from God is in Christ. Outside of Christ, you're on your way to a sinner's hell. In Christ, you're under the grace of Christ because you do what? You obey him. I obey Christ because I have his mind transmitting to my mind. I'm not fighting him. I'm under grace. Outside of Christ's mind and obedience to his mind, I'm not under grace. Anybody teach you anything different from that, thinking that you're out there sinning and you're under grace, they're a liar. Well, shall we say then, he makes the case, shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? In other words, the more I sin, the more I got grace. He says you're an idiot. God forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein? I died on the cross to sin. How can I be living in sin if I'm dead? So grace can't be in sin because I'm dead to sin. Know you not that so many of us as were baptized into Jesus Christ were baptized into his death? When they put you down in that water and you came up, you said, I'm died with Christ and resurrected with him. That's what the outward expression is of water baptism. Therefore we are buried with him by baptism into death, that like as Christ was raised up from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life. That word for life is Zoe, eternal life. We walk in newness of life. For if we have been planted together in the likeness of his death, we shall be also in the likeness of his resurrection. Knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him, that the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not serve sin. For he that is dead is freed from sin. That's the escape. You have to methodically, mechanically, situationally do what's necessary to yourself to be crucified. That's it. It's just like getting in shape. You got to die a little to get in shape. And your body's going to fight you. Same thing with this. To go to the cross is a struggle, even for Jesus Christ. Garden of Gethsemane, he asked the Father if there's any other way to do this. If it's possible, Father, let this cup pass from me. But nevertheless, not my will, let your will be done. So apparently the Father's will was, son, go to the cross. There is no other way. This is the way to do it. Go. And he prayed 3 times over this, letting you know he wasn't fooling around with something. He had a human part that he had to do what? Overcome. He had to mortify it. He had to stay in prayer until that human element in him was mortified, subjected to the will of the Father to carry out obedience. Fasting is not going to be empowered by the Holy Ghost. You can forget that. It ain't going to happen. Holy Ghost, give me the strength to fast. You'll be down here a long time because he ain't going to do it. Present your body as a living sacrifice. God has given you jurisdiction over your body to do it with it as you will. So therefore he commands you, put your body on the altar. Well, give me the strength to fast. I'm not giving you any strength to fast. The will you possess is your strength to fast. You want to get in shape? How is all these people getting in shape? And some people are not. They don't will to. Those people who get in shape live sacrificial lives. They sacrifice to get in shape. That's the truth. How do some folk know the Bible and others don't? Because people sacrifice to study to show themselves approved. They burned the midnight oil. They stayed up late at night while other people were sleeping. They poured through these scriptures and looked up the information and lived in a concordance, lived in a thesaurus, lived in a dictionary, lived in a Hebrew Greek lexicon, studied to show themselves approved. You don't just know the word through osmosis. You got to study to show yourself approved, a workman needed not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. So you got to die to some activities that other people are participating in. While you're participating in what you're doing, I've got the midnight oil burning to study this Bible. While you are somewhere eating at a fast food restaurant, the shapely young girl there is on the track. She's at the gym. She's not eating the hog slop from off of your grill. Why? Because I want to get into this size 8, size 6. You can't downgrade her because she wants to look nice in her clothes. That's an individual choice she made. She don't have to get proud. She don't have to be arrogant. She don't have to be aloof and put other folk down. I just want to carry myself a certain way, and I made up my mind to do it. I made up my mind to do it. You're going to be in church and still be in shape. I told a young lady the other day, I said, let me tell you something. You go to the gym, you work out, you get as fine as you want to get. You walk around, you feel good, look good, and walk in righteousness. Don't let anybody condemn you or put you down, because she was concerned about how she looked about something she had done. I say, get over all that. Don't let other people define you, because if people can define you, they will confine you. They will limit you in their own minds about you and try to impart their confinement to your life. Break out, buddy. I mean, look good. Go and get yourself sculptured out if you want to. Don't get proud. Don't be arrogant. But you feel good about yourself and walk on down the street with your head up and live a life of righteousness. That's what you do. I don't care what you've done. God will overcome anything the devil has put into your life. He says, for he that is dead is freed from sin. Now, if we be dead with Christ, here we go back to the if-thens, we believe that we shall also live with him, knowing that Christ, being raised from the dead, dieth no more, death hath no more dominion over him. For in that he died unto sin once, but in that he liveth unto God. Likewise, reckon you also yourselves to be dead indeed unto sin, but alive unto God through Jesus Christ our Lord. Let not, this is a command. The understood word there to begin that sentence is you. You individually, let not sin therefore reign in your mortal body, that you should obey it in the lust thereof. Neither yield you your members as instruments of unrighteousness unto sin, but yield yourselves unto God as those that are alive from the dead, and your members as instruments of righteousness unto God. For sin shall not have dominion over you. Why, Paul? For you are not under the law, but under grace. You're not outside of Christ, governed by the law, because the law is made for a righteous man. You are inside of Christ, governed by grace, because you're righteous in him. Everybody wanting to go back to the law is putting themselves back under unrighteous sin. As a matter of fact, when you still have an appetite and an inclination towards sin, you will put yourself back under the law. The main sin that puts you under the law, you know what it is? Pride. Pride. You're trying to be physically more distinct before other Christians. In other words, I'm trying to show that I'm doing more than you because I observe the Sabbath days. And everybody like that will begin to build this little club of talking about the Sabbath days as if they're doing something good. You can build a cult around anything. Anything that you make up in your mind. You got some women right now in the black community that have a natural hair coat versus the women that have a processed hair coat. You see how crazy that is? If you want to have natural hair, leave folk alone and go on. But they have this thing in them that makes them feel like I got my hair healthy now because it's natural. I no longer use the chemicals on them, and you still process yours, and you don't understand that you're just ruining your hair. Well, let me ask you this. Down here at Westview Cemetery, in those graves, one grave has a woman with processed hair. The other woman has a grave with a woman that had natural hair. Both of them is all past tense. Can you tell after 3 years which one had processed hair and which one had natural hair? Can you tell which one wore a wig? Who had weave? You see how useless everything is down here. Everything you try to make into something is useless. I observed the Sabbath days and you didn't. Okay, down here at Westview Cemetery, can you tell who observed the Sabbath day? If it has no eternal significance, data dump it. Data dump it. It makes no difference. And there's some folks listening to me right now that will hate my guts for saying it. You know why? Because it sets you free from them and their stupid dictates that are trying to bind you to time and space, bind you to the outer court, keep you limited, keep you focused on yourself, living up or down to somebody else's dictates for your life, keeping you bound in religion, keeping you trying to please God through works, trying to pay your tithes, trying to observe a Sabbath day, trying to make sure that the new moon doesn't catch you out at night so you won't become the wolf man. All this stuff yoked on a person's life, when all you've got to do is present your body and let the process kill you. The process of studying the word, fasting, praying, praise and worship, keeping it flowing over you like a river while cutting off that which fed the old appetites and the old sin nature. And the process all by itself will change you into a new creature. You'll walk in the spirit and you won't fulfill the lust and desires of your flesh. Folks, they call me all the time, write me, message me, asking me about sin problems. I tell them, undergo the process. Well, what if I fall away? So you're already falling away. You go to hell soon where you are now. You might as well just go through the process. Begin the process. Stop asking these silly, stupid questions and go and do what I'm telling you. Endless questions is just delays. That's trying to forsake the process. You know, you got one sister named You Need To. Another sister named We Ought To. The third sister name is I'm going to. I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to start running. I'm going to start lifting weights. I'm going to start eating right. I'm going to. You ought to. We need to. I'm going to. Father name, I used to. Mama's name, I should have. See all this stuff, man. Listen. Either you get on with it or you're just kidding yourself. And Jesus will be back down here and you'll be looking at him, a foolish virgin with no oil in your lamp. For the oil to fill the lamp, it's got to be a transformed lamp. You got to be changed from carnal mind to spiritual mind, from flesh to spirit, from the Adamic to the Christ-like nature. That's where the oil begins to fill you. And then God will light it up, and Jesus can identify you as a lit lamp. If your lamp ain't lit with a light, you can't go. Why the 5 foolish virgins go looking for oil? Because the bridegroom is identifying us by the lamps that are trimmed and lit. And my lamp ain't lit because I got no oil in my lamp. We better wake up, for real. You can see the arena around us is growing darker. You can see this stuff is coming to fruition. Look around at all the folk and how they look for real. The outer countenance, the Bible says, will witness against you. It's already happened. I need to fast more. I need to get into my word. These are not works. This is preparation. This is what's necessary to mortify an old nature that's in God's way. I'm just removing cholesterol. Get the cholesterol out of me. Philosophy and Gnostic thinking is trying to replace the discipline and self-denial necessary to follow Jesus. If any man come after me, Jesus speaking, let him first deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me up to Calvary and hang on it. And then God has promised to resurrect both me and you. Jesus Christ and me can be resurrected after crucifixion. The more you get rid of that Adamic, the more you'll find the mind of Christ will merge into you. And guess what will happen? You'll experience a vertical victory. Your mind will begin to ascend. None of these things down here will begin to move you anymore. It'll stop mattering. Stuff that used to affect you, you could care less. Your mind is ascending. Other folks won't understand you if their minds are not ascending. That's not your problem. You have one mission in life, to get your mind out of here through ascension. Not growing through the Kundalini experience of getting to a higher self and your third eye opening. You don't want that. That's the devil. You want your affection set above with Christ. Die into this world. Die into the flesh. Die into carnal appetites, to allow your spirit man to ascend as the mind of Christ takes hold of your soul and your life. That's what Christianity is really about. Go to churches on the corner, most of them don't even understand what they're doing. They have no idea what's going on. They have no idea what this is all about. They just sit there and go through doctrine and data and dogma taught at seminary, and the folks just go through the ritual. They go through, this is the sewing circle and the busy bee club. It's the Kiwanis Club meeting every week. The mission is to turn the church into a spiritual house, a house of prayer. See, that's engendering your ascension. Praise and worship. You getting out of here. See, everything, Bible teaching, Bible study, videos that teach you about the ways of God with the right teachers teaching. Everything is about ascension. It ain't got nothing to do with here. Matter of thinking about no tithe. You got containers around the church. If you feel led to give and God's inspired you to give, put the money in the container. We'll pick it up once a week. We ain't having no collection. You got enough sense to know if you sitting in this building and we running this kind of an organized structure to get this done, everybody's got the right heart knows to support it. How can you sit here listening to me on live stream right now every week, 1,000 strong, and not support the message? It's something hanging up your mind. You see and hear what we're about. You see where we're going with this. You see what it's doing to you and for you. So you should say, you know what, let's get this thing sped up. Let's get on out of here then. Let's just move on out. But if you're afraid and you're locked up in this world, you just sit there looking. And it's like everybody else that's bound. You do the heavy lifting. Let somebody else pay for it, but I want the benefits from it. You're not going anywhere. You're trying to run out of McDonald's without paying for the hamburger. You're trying to drive all the way to New York in a car with 8 people and they buy the gas. Think about what I'm saying, the kind of person I'm talking about. They want to go on the trip, but you all buy the gas and the food for me, and I just go on the trip. We're having a cookout. The only thing I'm going to bring is my size 9 shoes to sit under the table and eat all day and take a snack with me back home. What did you bring to the barbecue? Not a thing. It's something evil about all of that. You try to make her feel guilty for not giving. You know what I'm trying to do? Make you aware of the fact that something is wrong with you if you see something that's actually moving diametrically opposed away from that which is evil, that which is the devil, and you don't pull the resources over into this to oppose that what's wrong. Yes, Jesus had a treasurer and a treasury, because the folks that saw what he was doing said, you know what, this is it, this is right. Let's go with this. Resources are poured into that which is beneficial to you. If this is beneficial to you, then your resources should follow you and follow what's beneficial to you. We have painted a vision for a church that's not like the usual church paradigm. A house of prayer. That's what we need. A house of prayer. A house of deliverance where you cast out demons. A house that's steadily, progressively teaching babies how to grow up and walk in this thing for themselves, and put people on the streets that are ministers of God to do the works of the ministry, not bound to church personalities. Not hanging around all day with one guy in a pulpit sitting up in a big throne in front of the church as Pastor Johnson, the dictator of modern day Nazism. Look, man, fill up with the Holy Ghost and get on the street and do the job yourself after you've been converted. Peter can do one thing after he was converted. To be converted is to have a vertical victory. Your mind is out of here, and your 5 carnal senses are not gone, but they're dictated to by your spirit. See, my spirit tells my senses what to do. They don't tell me. If you're not that way, you'll never present the gospel because you're so concerned about how the people are going to receive it. I'm so rejected and hurt when I can't take you not liking me. So you're still living where your senses are dictating to you. Once you don't care what people think about you, and you have no conscious awareness of who you're talking to, and you can care less about their reaction, you're a vessel fit for the master to use because you got outflow. I don't care what the environment says. I don't care what race you are. I don't care where you went to school and what academic background you have. This is the way, and you better walk in it. That's when you're ready, then. Because you're not conscious of your environment. As long as this environment can dictate to you, you can't do this. Because you'll always be consciously aware of what people think and what they say. I get a lot of stuff coming to me, but nobody knows about. Telling me all kinds of stuff, calling me all kinds of things. It doesn't matter. It has no benefit or no hurt appended to it. That's the way they see it. One thing's for sure, I'm not calling them and bugging them about what they believe. Somebody's right and somebody's wrong. If you're bugging me about what I'm saying and I'm not bugging you, somebody's right and somebody's wrong. I don't care about you. Why do you care about this? The devil always tries to get you to follow him. Christ never puts forth effort to make you follow him. I lay before you blessing and cursing, life or death. Choose life. It's up to you. Since it's outflow, there's no necessity to try to make a person do it or not do it. It's outflow. You do it if you want to. It doesn't matter. You want to observe the Sabbath? It don't affect me at all. But when you turn to me and say, I got to observe the Sabbath, I'm going to tell you to back off of me because I ain't going to do it. Now you're mad at me because you want me to observe the Sabbath like you because you think you got a right doctrine. And Colossians just told you, don't let any man judge you according to the Sabbath days. So you can't be right. You have to be wrong. It's just that simple. Go vertical. Get a vertical victory and stop letting people dictate to you and control you. It's about being liberated. But only use not your liberty for an occasion of the flesh. You can walk in a vertical victory. Father, we thank you for this time of sharing. Thank you for the word of God. God, append these words to our ears and into our hearts and minds. Change us that we can see to shred off the snake skin and get out of here. We've got to move up higher, and we all know what's necessary to move up. We got to go back to the old pathways that got us in. A lot of us been around for a while, and we know what we used to do. We know how we used to get clear. We know how our minds used to be, not fettered and chained by anything. Man, it was right on. We were praising and worshiping God in spirit and in truth. Get us back over there across that river, across the Jordan River to Canaan land, away from this world. Sanctify us through your word, because your word is truth, and separate us from every contaminating influence. I bind the devil by way of the internet. I bind every devil that's there trying to limit these people's minds. I bind the devil and that confusion that comes from listening to all this foolishness over Facebook. I bind the devil that's always trying to distract and delay and thwart people. I bind the devil with all that confused gibberish. I bind the carnal religious mind that's trying to give carnal inputs about nothing. Devil, I bind you. I bind you in Jesus' name. Let the Spirit of the Lord go forth to bind that yoke. Bind that devil. Stop the mouths of the gainsayers in Jesus' name. And set these people free. For your glory and for your honor, do it, God, because you can. I know you will. In Jesus' name, amen. So to wrap it up for this week, folks, remember the conference next month is coming at us like a freight train now. About what, 5 weeks away. 5 or 6 weeks away. We'll be down there in Destin, Florida. Register now at the website www.omegaministry.org. Sign up, get your room, get your registration fee paid. That registration fee covers all your meals for 3 days as far as the main meals, and we have a lot of snacks and stuff to cover the other times that you want to eat. But I found in spiritual environments, folk don't really eat that much. They just don't. You got other things on your mind. So fast and pray your way in so that if you need deliverance or you've got some kind of demonic problem, it'll be addressed Friday night at the deliverance service. Also remember nightly prayer Monday through Saturday night, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That number is 1-805-399-1000, 1-805-399-1000. The access code is 409367, 409367. Also remember Dunamis Tabernacle. Folks, we're looking to get this thing up and operative. I want it up and operative within the next few weeks or months. We got to get up and operative so we can begin that study push to get folk over here and get what's in them that's binding them out of them and move them on. We got enough stored ammunition. I'm serious about this. If you go back to the 80s up to now, there's enough word stored in people that if you remove the cholesterol and the barrier, the word would just ignite. All you got to do is move the cholesterol and throw a match in them. They got word stored in them. You got word taught to folks at World Changers by Creflo Dollar that's just empty, barren word because it's got the wrong spirit. You get them free from that prosperity delusion and get the contamination out of their systems and throw a match in what's left over, you can blow up like an atomic bomb. A lot of folk have been reading their Bibles, studying their Bibles, but with the wrong motivation and for the wrong reason. But they got the word in them. Now you just got to get it right by removing the demons and the blockages and all the stuff that's hindering the flow of God. God won't flow through where the demons are. See, a lot of word they were taught, demons piggybacked on it. So you got word and demons mixed together. What we look to do is kill the flesh in covenant with the demons because I'm proud and I'm greedy. So I appended a prosperity doctrine to the word. You see how the demon got in? See, I took, Creflo Dollar is the only guy in the world that can take Genesis 1:1, in the beginning God, and make it about money. He can take any scripture in the Bible and make it about money some kind of a way. Remember Lot's wife. You see what he was really saying there was, see, Lot was returning back to the money that he hadn't paid tithes. Look, any scripture, he could take it and make it about money. So the demon of greed and prosperity piggybacked on how we taught it. Now what we got to do is get rid of the flesh, just greedy and proud, let it die, dispatch the demons out of the soul, take the leftover word, strike a match, and throw it into the word. It'll ignite all by itself. They'll blow up. That's all we got to do, y'all. And you do that by conquering these entities through prayer and fasting. This kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. Some things need to be taken on by a unified church in a building somewhere where the people stay in prayer and fasting until we get a breakthrough and an outpouring. I'm inviting all you folk by live stream. $25 a week and we're up and running. We get 1,000. It's 1,000 people going to hear this message by Wednesday. If each one of you would just give $25 a week and give it like you would sit in a church building. Okay, $25, $20, $10. 1,000 people a week. We'd be out of here. Jesus will be back hopefully in a little bit, because we do what's necessary to get him back. Some of this is laying right at the door of the church in response to what God said to do. If you study the Bible all through the Old Testament, God did nothing until you responded to what he just said. If you, then I. It's always that way. It's still that way today. If my people that are called by my name will humble themselves and pray. He's a reciprocal God. You can't do this and God not do something. Everybody listening to this message today and will hear it this week, send $25, send $100 to the Dunamis Fund. You'll find it on our homepage, www.omegaministry.org. At the bottom of that homepage, you'll see the address to the Dunamis. It'll go right to the bank. I won't even see it. And it's being managed by Tim Simmons. It'll go right to the bank. That's the Dunamis Fund. Anything sent over the internet, electronically, if you mark it for the Dunamis Fund, we send it to the bank and it goes into that fund. It's getting close to $17,100 right now. We're shooting for $20,000 by the 1st of August. But we want to see it break the bank and go up to $1 million. $1 million, we're up and running. I'm telling you, this is not hard. Geometric progression is the key to the church. A broad base of people, not the same 50 people killing themselves to carry the load. You broaden the base, and it's a few dollars taken from every person, or given and contributed by every person to carry the load. Build the base broad. 10,000 people at the base, and you're out of here. You're in Beulah land. You're in eternity here shortly, because we're not going to do what other folks have done and double back talking about prosperity and driving Bentleys. We're not here to save a world only. We're here to end the world by saving those that belong to God. Extract God's people out of Sodom and Gomorrah, and Sodom and Gomorrah comes to an end. Remove Noah out of his day and put him on an ark, and everything else drowns in a flood. Don't just look at the days of Noah and the days of Lot talking about how the atmosphere will be. He's also talking about how it ended. He extracts his own and he ends it. And most folks are afraid of what I say in this instance because they're afraid the world will end because they're bound to it. You better let that world go and get over here on the hallelujah side and do something practical about it. Get over here. Let's get out of here in Jesus' name. See you Wednesday night, Bible study 7:30. See you back here next week, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another message. See you down in Destin, Florida, August 22nd through 24th. Be there or be square. We're going in heavy, and we mean to see a revival break out around this nation and around the world. That's our mode of operation. We're not fooling around with God's people or God's property. See you next week. Have a good week.